Well, good evening. It is June 29th, 2026. That means only one thing. The NHL Draft has come and gone. It is now the post-Christmas hangover, I guess you could say. You know, the lull between Christmas and New Year's, where we rest and we rejuvenate, unless you're me, where you've been watching a lot of guys that, there weren't that many this year, actually, but a bunch of guys who I hadn't seen a whole lot of ever at all this season. So I spent a lot of today doing that. Before we get into it, I tabulated and scored all of the submissions for the first round predictor contest. I sent an email to everyone this morning, as well as emails to the winners individually. It was mostly very competitive, except for our winner, who ran away with it by a margin of about 20 points. I think he had 84. The next highest was 65, something like that. It was scored based on who got the most guys right, and the later the picks in the first round, the higher the point score. Someone guessed Jackson Cover going 32nd, which, like, almost on its own got them into the conversation of, you know, winning the whole thing, which is pretty nuts. You wouldn't have expected that. But had a lot of fun breaking through those. So congrats to all the winners. You were emailed this morning, so check your email, maybe your spam, whatever you need. But it is there. Okay. Anyway, let's see here. I mean, first of all, thank you to everybody who was either there Friday night or there Saturday morning or all day Saturday and all night Friday or whatever. It was a pleasure. It was really, really fun. Thank you to all the pals that decided to come down and spend some time chatting with us and with me. It was a lot of fun. So again, if you didn't see it, we had Mark Doherty and Felix Robbins from McKean's Hockey on the show. We had David Saad, formerly of Elite Prospects, doing their under 16 work. Producer AJ was there. We had Joel Henderson of Puck Preps there as well. Tony Ferrari was there Friday night of the Hockey News. So we had a ton of fun watching all the picks roll in, and I'm sure we'll get lots and lots and lots of questions about the events that transpired. But I did a radio hit on Vancouver radio today, which was really, really good, breaking down some of the stuff that happened at the draft. So a fun weekend, man. I mean, honestly, like, it's kind of weird, like, coming out of this one, for me at least, mentally, the vibes are much more positive. You know, I think this year's draft class, there's a lot of good players. They're available all over the place. A lot of different strategies were at play, a lot of different sort of angles to look at things through a certain lens. And at the end of the day, you know, not a whole lot really surprised me, but I'm sure there was definitely a lot that may have surprised a lot of you, and I would probably count myself among that group on a number of them. So, anyway, a fun time, and I'm sure that we'll get plenty of inquiries about how did the so and so's do? How did they do? Like already kind of seeing a few fan bases ready to jump off a bridge, but I would urge you not to do that. You know. I remember the days of Moritz Seider getting picked top 10 and everyone thinking they were morons. And, you know, things happen. Okay. Let's see. What do we got going on here? Let's see what we got here. I'm trying to think if there's any more housekeeping. I will be starting to film the recaps. I was prepping the first batch today, watching some of the guys that I wasn't familiar with. So I think we have our first, 10 that I could just fire off, so we'll be filming those over the course of the rest of the week. We are going to be doing a show for Free Agency Day on Wednesday, so be there as well. We're going to have some fun. But yeah, it's a good time. And then after that, we're going to be doing the pipeline videos and all that other stuff. After, I also do want to do like a guys who went undrafted video, but we'll record that. I don't know. Sometime soon. I'm still in my post-draft haze here. I'm not gonna lie to you a little bit. It was a bit of a crazy week, and we're on the mend here. But anyway, we're gonna get into it. Let's do this here. Were you surprised Sorensen was drafted that high? I mean, it's Carolina, you know. So no, because he's really good. But it was really frustrating because I wanted to put him on the team scouting list, and I was gonna. But at 60, I thought that was a little too early, and I could maybe sneak through there a little bit more, and then he went one pick later. So a little annoying, a little bit annoying. Really, I actually, I messaged somebody with that team not too long ago, and I said this was also like over 36 hours later, and I was like, I'm still really annoyed that you guys took this guy where you did. Like, you didn't have to do that, right? Like that's very rude of you. And all I got in return was a winky face, and that really pissed me off even more. So, I actually got a message from an NHL scout the other day too that said one of my favorite activities every year is going back and looking at our picks and seeing your reaction. It's always a good time. Take that for what you will. But yeah, so Carolina taking Wiggo Sorensen. I mean, it was a bit of a surprise that he went that early, but of course it was Carolina. Everybody's clamoring over all kinds of guys, and they just trade down and pick a guy. Pick a good player. And they got William Hokinson outside the top 50, which could be a nice pickup as well. Yeah, I think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be pretty good for a long time. They have a lot of stuff cooking, and they just keep getting away with it. Yeah, the crash out was valid. It really pissed me off. Because, like, Toronto added even more picks in that range. I thought it was an easy gimme. I could wait until whatever it was, 79, 78. And I went, maybe then I would do it. Because then he's like the fourth guy you're taking, and then I would absolutely be okay with that. And there's a lot of guys that I feel roughly similar to. And then I screwed it up. I blew it. I blew my chance, and Carolina took it from me. And I'm going to regret it, I think, for the rest of my life, right to my deathbed. Question from the content creator side. Is there a way to set which one of the two streams is the default option that opens when clicking on the live icon on the channel? No, there is not. I have to hope, I will say this, I have to hope that Streamlabs adds, if they're watching or something like that, maybe I should just submit feedback, but there is a dual stream button in YouTube's Creator Studio, so you can send to, like, you can have it sent as both. But Streamlabs doesn't integrate with that. If you have a vertical and horizontal display, it sends two separate streams rather than like one that is sent to both like shorts and the main feed. So if they can integrate those two things together, where the Streamlabs vertical can be sent through the dual stream setting, then we're good. But otherwise, no, there's unfortunately nothing that I can do about it. I mean, for this show, you could have gone to the pre-scheduled video and set a reminder, and then by default, it will open that one. So there's that. But yeah, it's something that I hope they add sometimes between now and next season. San Jose made off like bandits. I mean, they did do extremely well. I mean, like. Yeah, like they did very well for themselves. And again, like, this is what I mean. Like, every Sharks fan just kept yelling and screaming about, we need a center at 2 or a defenseman at 2. We're not drafting Stenberg. We can't draft him. It's as if we need a defenseman so bad. We need a defenseman so bad. And like, you got two really, really good ones no matter what, regardless, Plus you got Alexander Karmanov, who is the wild card lottery ticket of all lottery tickets. And that's very funny. But yeah, I mean, look, like I look at both of these guys, I look at all three of these guys they drafted in the first round, and like all the maneuvering and all that stuff, and they also added Michael Kesselring, and like, yeah, like they're having a good time. I mean, losing William Eklund is tough, I would say. That's tough. Especially when you turn around and bring in Ivar Stenberg, but Keaton Verhoff could be an absolute mammoth of a pick there. And Ryan Lynn, like, I've had my doubts about Ryan Lynn for sure, but as the third guy you're drafting in the draft, yeah, you don't have to twist my arm. If Stenberg and Verhoff are the first two guys you're picking, and I'm at a table and everyone's like, let's take Ryan Lynn, I'm going, okay, they're sure, fine, yeah, totally. I would have really liked a Mathis Preston, but hey, at this rate, you could have traded down and gotten him twice from 21, but you wouldn't have done that with Ryan Lynn. And getting him there, that's a round where I would have started really thinking about it, and especially as the third guy you take. I mean, it's a quality over quantity thing there. They just went full, get as many high picks as we can, and go from there. With Gavin McKenna, if everything goes right with his development and he has instant chemistry with the least top 6, how high can his ceiling be? I mean, I still see a very sort of Artemi Panarin type guy. Like, I see a very Artemi Panarin type player there. Like, if it look, I think as well, like, I think McKenna has really, like, shown a different side. Like, I don't know, it just seems like, and I'm sure I'm a bit guilty of this, but like, a lot was said, and I think there's a lot of truth behind. I still stand by everything I did with regards to his game and the things that he needs to learn. But again, like, I think sometimes when I'm a bit more critical than most, it's not because I think they're like a failure of a player, right? Like, it's like a tough love thing where it's like, if the potential is there and you see it, then ideally, it's like I want to push them to get there because it's possible. And so with McKenna, it's like the only thing is just that you hope that there's growth, and it seems like there has been. And so it gives you a lot more confidence. I think Toronto has made a series of pretty solid moves here, and I don't think he's being thrown into a firestorm, really. I think it's pretty hard to argue that the John Chayka era has been like an added level of chaos and nuttiness that they themselves have put together. Everything just seems very calculated and reasonable and stabilizing. So I think with McKenna, like, a really top end guy. Yeah, I mean, he's more skilled than most guys in the world. You know what I mean? And that's gonna take him a long way. Very creative, very skilled. I don't know if we'll see. He's gonna be feeding Austin Matthews pucks, so that's a pretty good job. And I think it's a good fit. And it could be very, very rewarding for him. Thoughts on Alex Bleki? His skating is close to elite. I mean, I don't know about elite level. Like, are you calling him like a Quinn Hughes level skater? Because, like, I don't think so. Bleki is an interesting one. I mean, at 60, I guess I get it. There are definitely things about his game that are very intriguing. His offensive zone playmaking is really strong. He knows how to read the ice really effectively. He's made some really, really good plays. And he is very mobile. I think you're betting on physical development with him. He's a guy who gets around the ice just fine. Like, I don't think there's any problem there, but I think elite is thrown around an awful lot. I mean, it's a definite strong suit of his game. But I don't know. I mean, at 60, like, my pick at 60 was Anderson for team scouting, and I probably would have preferred that, and he went pretty soon afterwards, but Bleki wasn't lasting much longer, I don't think. I mean, like, knowing what I know about Wiggo Sorensen, I wouldn't have gone for Bleki over Sorensen. So, but he's an interesting offensive defenseman who has some intriguing higher end, like, processing ability, which could take him a ways. I think it's a nice bet at the end of the second round. Like, again, it's the end of the second round. If you get anything, you've done well, right? Like, you did. That's it. Give us a few words on Lockerberg Hohen. Oh man, honestly, I was surprised at how many Sens fans were, like, kind of freaking out a little bit. I personally really like him, and I'm sure that anybody who watches the show knows that. Lagerberg Hohen, he was in my first round, and I don't like I think he has as much upside as a lot of other guys in this draft. Like he's big and has some good reach on him. He's skilled, and I think he can make a play, but he can also score. Like the Senators are having fun now, which is very unusual, but it seems like now the Senators are swinging bigger on like higher interesting upside guys. I could easily see Lockerberg Cohen being a guy that we look back on and go, wow, that guy had a really strange draft year, but he should have gone higher. Like, I think he went about as high as I would seriously consider taking him, which was 25th. That's higher than I had him ranked, but I mean, hey, I can see why you would believe in a guy like that. Really, really, really good player. What about shorts? Ryan Lynn's the most interesting prospect. I could see a world where he's the best to come out of this class. Well, I would love to hear your explanation on that, because Gavin McKenna exists and Ivar Stenberg exists and Viggo Bjork exists. Like, Lynn is good. Let's not jump into season of the guy my team drafted is the best thing that ever existed. Like, Lynn is a good player, and he has some room to go. He's not there yet, but I don't know. We'll see. But he's a very, very good player, and getting him as the third guy is great. Hurlburt will be better than most of the top 33. Well, hopefully, for your sake, because saying Victor Plante is nice to see. You're a Red Wings fan, so there you go. Yes, Hurlburt. Sure. Yes, let's all hope he's better than everybody. There you go. Bleki will be a top 5 defenseman from this draft. Where were these takes last week, man? Oh my god. I don't know about top 5 defensemen in the class when you've got Schmitz and Carols and Reed and Verhoff and Gustafson and Lynn, and like let's relax. Like, I saw Bleki jump into an awful lot of questionable situations for himself, and he's good, but you know, he went 60th. Like, let's be patient here. Blue sending 2 firsts for Mason McTavish. Your thoughts? I mean, I think they paid a decent chunk to get him, but generally you don't see teams drafting this many freaking times in the first round. And I think that for St. Louis, like, you're buying low on McTavish's perceived value. I think he has more in the tank than he gets credit for. And it's very obvious now, seeing those moves plus who they drafted in conjunction, that the Blues are trying to be much more up McTavish's alley purely. Like, they drafted Lawrence, they drafted Dagenet. They want to be hard, physical, speedy up the middle, and just hardworking, like competitive up the middle. And I get that. I totally get it. They're at least they clearly have a thing that they want to be, and they're leaning into it. And I will never fault that. If it works, great. It's a bit of a risk, but for St. Louis, like, if they don't want to just completely bottom out and rebuild, I mean, I think they got one of the best players in the draft in Lawrence. Dagenet, I can imagine him playing in the NHL pretty easily. And McTavish can play immediately, and there might be some good upside there. Ideas for the stream. Talk as much as you can about Gleb. When talking about other players, how do they compare to Gleb? Really just try to say Gleb as much as possible. Yes, Gleb is, yeah, I mean, him going to Montreal. First of all, yes, thanks, Montreal fans, for blasting my analytics to the moon because of Gleb. I would never lie to you. I would never steer you astray. Gleb is a heck of a player. He'll be a fun one to watch in Montreal, even if it isn't the most incredible thing. He just had to pronounce Gleb. It's just Gleb. No, Gleb. Zach Lansard, the new Jackson Blake. I don't know about that. I don't think Lansard has that kind of skill. He's more of just, I find, like a speedy guy. Like, just all speed. He's a little small, but he's speedy. I don't really know if I would consider Blake that. It's more skill and how he uses his skill. I don't think that they're the same. But for all I know, I mean, Jackson Blake at this age, I didn't think he was Jackson Blake. And so Zach Lansard, sure, he's the next Stankoven. Sure, why not? I don't know. Outscout by Tulski. Yeah, I know. He tends to do that. At least he won a Stanley Cup doing it, so I'll take it. Did you have any indications Daxon Rudolph would go fourth? No, I did not. Seems to be a reach, especially with Reed, Carroll, Verhoff, and Schmitz all still available. Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know. Like, look, again, maybe there's something about him that I did not see or understand or comprehend, and it's worth it. I think back to all the guys I've tracked over the years and what defenseman he reminded me of, and I couldn't think of a single one that went as high as that. So I don't really know. But hey, all it takes is turning it off and on again, and who knows what he could be in 5 years. I don't know. Thoughts on the absolute blockbuster trade sending Gallagher to the Canucks for budding star future considerations? Well, I mean, one of these days, future considerations will pan out, probably, you know. What makes you believe in Blyle more than Lynn? I mean, they're very close on my list. They're in the same tier, I believe. Yeah, they're in the same tier. Like, they're very close. The thing about Blyle that I like a little more is that there's more jump in his skating ability, I think, than Lynn. Like, Lynn is a smart... Like, they're both kind of similar, but I see Blyle is a little more advanced now with regards to generating speed, getting up the ice with some real sort of more NHL-like energy, whereas Lynn is more laid back and pass first a lot of the time, and that's fine. But for me, it's like, you know, he's still pretty small and plays pretty small, but so the NHL, we'll see. I don't know, but it's an interesting it's an interesting little discussion. But Blyle feels very Nashville coded, very mobile, very aggressive, very explosive, and it's not quite Lynn. Like, Lynn just, I think, has a tougher... Like, watching him, I go, okay, the NHL, how could they solve this guy? And I think it's more visible now, but it could easily change in a few years. Lynn's in 08, Blyle's in 07, you know, but they're both going to college next year. Turns out Blyle is actually going to MSU, so there you go. My prediction with Buffalo taking Rudolph is they took who might turn out to be the best trade bait halfway through the season. I mean, that's an awfully strange strategy. Yeah, I don't think you draft a guy because of that. I don't know. Look, I don't work for the Sabres. I don't know what the strategy was there. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know what they think. I couldn't tell you. But I'm not drafting a guy based on their perceived value in a trade to some team that I don't know who they are, right? Like, he may appeal to some, but he won't appeal to all of them. And if that's, you know, like, it just seems like a strange strategy. Kings drafting like Jekyll and Hyde? Kind of, yeah. I mean, some teams do that. They draft all over the place, you know. That's just kind of, yeah, there you go. The Rangers, what is this? The Rangers are weird. They seem to know what skilled players look like and take a few of them, but every draft they seem to go, oh, wait, we hit our good player quota and just draft bona fide AHLers. I mean, yeah, like, but again, like, that's what a lot of teams do, right? Like, the idea that an NHL team will look at the guys, wow, they had a lot of draft picks, but like, the idea that an NHL team will look at the draft classes that they're getting and go, well, you can't have too much skill, right? Like, think about it from a perspective of a hockey guy, right? Can you have too much skill? They would say yes. Can you have too much beef on your team? Too much beef. I would argue no, in their minds. Like, they go, would you rather have a team full of skilled guys or a team full of 6'8" bruisers? And I bet most teams would go the 6'8" bruisers. Like, you draft the skill high, but you don't draft all skill, right? You need to fill out and complement them And you can never have too much of that because they're also tougher to project in a way. Do you agree with that? I don't know, but that's an explanation. And so I'm not surprised when teams default in a certain direction. You know, it's not just the Rangers. Like, most teams do this. It's just how it works. And it's how you end up with like a lot of guys later on where you're like, how'd this guy fall so far? And you're like, oh, they were 5'10" when they were 17, or they were 5'11", and just nobody really thought they would get there. But the Rangers, I mean, the Rangers are a team I have to go and watch some of the guys. I haven't gotten to them yet. I was not really a fan of Charlie Morrison, but like Schmitz, McBeth, and maybe Shrenko all have a chance of being solid NHLers. Like, I was a little lower on McBeth, but I see the appeal. They drafted him later than I had him ranked. Shrenko is high risk, high reward, I think. But we'll see. It's too early to tell. But like Bose and Mondu and Anderson and Patrikayev, I don't have enough on them off the top of my head, and I haven't gotten to them since the draft. I'm surprised Sorensen was drafted in the second because Promden had him undrafted. Well, never doubt the Carolina Hurricanes to be out there doing their homework. Yeah, how many of the Rangers day two picks that I heard of before? 2. 3, actually. Spencer Bowes I knew existed. I just didn't know really much about him. So, and McBeth. So 3. There you go. 3. Have you said your top 3 classes yet? I can't do that yet. It's too early. There are still guys that I haven't seen yet that I want to see before I make that judgment. Like, for example, I was watching Vancouver's guys today, and who's the kid they drafted late? The re-entry from Cedar Rapids. What's his name? He was pretty good. I actually kind of liked what he brought to the table. Connor Davis. It's just he's an 06 and playing USHL hockey and is definitely very determined and physical and, you know, goes beyond a lot of the guys that he's playing against. But I liked what I saw out of him. So that kind of gave them a boost. And I don't know. There's a lot of teams that drafted guys that I just either haven't seen a whole lot of or just didn't see. So yeah. Do you think Victor Plante has a big leap in development like his brother Max? How do you view Max in his draft year? Max Plante, was he on the NTDP? I'm gonna mix them all up here. Max Plante was an NTDP guy, right? Yeah. He was. Yes. So Max Plante, I remember mostly like just being a very smart puck mover and like a very smart playmaker at this age, and that's not really what I would say Victor is. Like, Victor is just a really, really hard-working guy, like really competitive and more skilled than you might think. And I really liked that pick from Detroit. I mean, obviously they have his brother already under the wing, so that definitely helps. And I'm not really surprised that nobody took a swing on him a little earlier because he's 5'10" and teams will devalue that. But yeah, where did he go again? He went to Detroit at 47. Yeah, like I think that's a good pickup for them. I don't know what he'll do in the NHL, but he'll work his way there. I think he'll put in the work, and if he can sort of maybe play with the puck a little bit more, you know, keep in open ice a little bit more, work himself into open ice a little bit better than he does, then there could be a lot of upside there. But even just as a competitive forechecker and an energetic guy, like, he's a really good player. And I don't think I remember Max sort of having the same, like, grind in his game. My take is Toronto's a perfect fit for him on the ice for McKenna and a pretty sketchy one off the ice. Oh, I disagree. He just will need to be able to tune out the uncles in Perth. That's all. He's going to need to just tune them out. Sorensen's main critics are the level of hockey he has played. Yeah, well, those are cowards. I mean that facetiously. I don't know. I mean, I watched him play and I watched the fundamentals and I went, this guy's definitely better than a lot of these other dudes. Like, I don't know about first round pick, and then by the end of the year with all the other stuff, I just went, yeah, no, I'm taking him. He's everywhere he went, he just had such great results. And looked awesome. What'd you think of the draft this year for Utah? I'm guessing you liked it more than last year. Yeah, they did well. I mean, I think that I was told that Adam Valentini's combine experience was less than desirable, and that kind of really hurt him. But getting Belchets Valentini as both guys, not just outside the lottery, but barely in the top 100, I think is really, really good. The other guys I haven't seen enough of. I know there are some people who really like Florent Houle as well. And don't let anybody tell you can't go a draft without drafting defensemen, because Utah drafted 4 defensemen and a goalie, or four wingers and a goalie. But Belchets is a really good get, I think, for Utah. It's very and I said this on the show, it's very Daniel Boot coded. Like, Daniel Boot wasn't necessarily the super physical guy all the time on the ice, and I don't think that's what Belchets should be long term. Like, I think if that's what Utah's expecting, they might be disappointed. But I think that for what he is, like, I think he could be a very interesting player. And at 17, like, that's lower than I had him ranked. In my gut, that's kind of where I thought he might be a guy that I would, like, actually draft in that range, like around that back half of the teens, maybe early 20s. Then if he were there, I'd really like him there. So Utah, I think, did well. And Valentini, I love. And I mean, it's a perfect fit in Utah. Like, I'm sure Andre Tourigny will have no problem trying to get Adam Valentini to be a bit more of a dirty rat, because when he does that, I think that's when he's best. Here, why don't we do this? We'll do this. Does that work? Yeah, that works. There you go. There's the tracker from the other night. Yeah, Hermansen did go late, I think. Liam Ruck versus Hurlburt. I was hoping for JP. I mean, I would want Hurlburt first. Liam is very smart. I mean, again, like, I should have seen it coming, but if you are a player who lacks some pretty key tools, but you see the ice really well, you place passes really well, and you're a nerd like Liam Ruck, then Kyle Dubas will draft you. And yeah, that was I thought Jack Hextall would have been a target there, but like, let's see what he does in Pittsburgh. I think that they probably have some good developmental magic, and for him, it's like, if he can just get stronger and quicker and build on his skill level, then that should make him into an interesting player. I think he has a long way to go, but and I think that there are issues that were kind of masked by his situation, but he's good. A good pickup, and I might have gone another way. Like, I can't believe he went before, like, Novotny and Pugachev and who else? Like, Blyle, Piperinen even, but, like, Hextall. I would have really thought there would be more interest in those guys than a guy like Ruck, but I'm not going to, like, say it's a failure at all. I'm not going to do that. I think there's a nice framework of a player there. It just, it might take some time to get there. That's all. Hermansen went lower, yes. Was 12 too high for Command? I don't know, man. I mean, I think so. Like, again, I think back to what I saw of Malte Gustafsson and, whatever. But, well, Gustafsson's probably the only one. And obviously the elephant in the room is that Preston and Villeneuve were second-round picks, but, like, that didn't shock me. But based on what I saw of Command relative to some of these guys, it's like, you're betting on development and you're betting on the kid. Like, everybody loves him. Everybody who's interviewed him says he's incredible and a hard-nosed competitor and just a guy that NHL teams really, really wanted. So we'll see. I don't think you can label it a bad pick right away, but there were some very good hockey players available at 12 that, New Jersey's jumped the queue a little bit before. And, they did Salayev and they did Mukamadulin, and those guys aren't Command, but they jumped the line to get those guys, I think. And Command is solid, but I have no complaints about him as an athlete or a player at all. I'm not going to say it's not going to work. But again, I think that if you're betting on it, he's a development bet. You're betting on where he goes, because the way that he plays is good. It's solid. It's competitive, but not quite. Not quite as developed and apparent as the guys that went kind of around him. But on the other hand, like, you could say the same thing about guys like Oscar Hemming or even Nikita Klepov. Like, you're betting on development with those guys, I think. And that's going to be the hinge. They're not there today, but There's nothing that says they can't in 3, 4, 5 years. That's a long time. Thoughts on Xavier Villeneuve going 34th? It doesn't shock me. I mean, I think teams were spooked by his injury or injuries. And I think that if there was behind the scenes stuff that I didn't know, which I can't know because I don't work for a team, like I don't have that access. Like maybe teams were worried about an injury to him because I think it was a hip problem, and defensemen like him with hip problems are really difficult to project. So it didn't shock me that he didn't go in the first round. And going to Chicago, I mean, look, like Chicago traded the 4th overall pick for a guy that some people are, I would say, arguably underrating. But they did get a guy that I had in the top 10. Like they traded a top 5 pick, and they still ended up with a guy that I had in the top 10. Like I think that could work out, and I think he's exactly what they've been needing in their development system for a very long time. Just raw upside skill, high end ability, and I just think that for Villeneuve, like, as long as they give him a good shot, like I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be very curious to see what he looks like in BU next year, because I bet that he's either gonna work immediately, and everyone's gonna know about it because he'll be on highlight reels all over the place, or it might be rough going because he still might be battling off an injury or something. I don't know. But the only person who knows that is Chicago and him. Sens had a scout on record saying Hone was a top 10 pick type of goal scoring ability. I would argue that that's not insane. Like, I would say that if he played a full season and he played like some of the moments that I saw earlier on in the year, like if he were in my top 20, like I wouldn't be shocked. Like if Wiggo Sorensen can be in my top 20, 25, like Lockerberg Hohen very well could have gotten there. I believe it. It might be a little optimistic, a little bullish, but it's really, really, I think it's possible. Do you think Bjork can jump into the NHL as an 18-year-old? There's some chatter from Jets fans speculating about it. I wouldn't be in a rush to do it. I'd want him playing number 1 center in Sweden for 20 minutes a night, working on his quickness and his agility and his ability to sort of evade pressure and all that stuff like that. I think I would want to see a little bit more development on before going to the NHL. I wouldn't be in a rush, especially if Winnipeg is going to trade like a Connor Hellebuck and they're going into an era of, like, I guess you could call it a rebuild or something. I don't know what the benefit would be of throwing him into that type of an environment day one. So I would maybe, I mean, you're going to have him in camp and give him some preseason time. It depends. I mean, like if he has a great summer and looks the part, then yeah, I mean, sure, it's possible. It's possible that Lucas Ambrosio plays NHL games if things go a certain way, right? Like, I don't know, unlikely, but with Bjork, like, I don't know, maybe he gets a handful and they send him back. Like, that's the good thing. You have some flexibility. I wouldn't be in a rush to throw him into the NHL based on how he is. The teams picking 3 through 9 simply go with preference over best player available. I don't think it's as easy to just say, like, who is the best player available. Like, I think teams are a lot more concerned with best fit available. Like, maybe that's the phrase people need to start utilizing if you want to understand what a team is thinking. Like, the best fit. Because, like, I think a big thing is, like, and it's why I really fundamentally understand what I like in a player. Because I don't think, like, there's a bunch of different ways to win a game, and I don't think it's very good to stray from that strategy. But just because a team has a different strategy doesn't make it stupid. So, like, in that range, like, I can understand why Calgary would want Carson Carrolls. Like, I'm a believer that a player in the right environment will develop better than a player in a different environment, right? Like, if Carson Carrolls went to New York at 5, I don't think that would be as good for him. It just, like, it seems like he's a guy who wanted to stay with a smaller market team like this and be more of that country folk, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, like, that makes an environment like New York a little less desirable to me than Alberta if I'm Carson Carrolls. So for Calgary to take him, I think that gives him a better development track. So it's like for Calgary, they see him as a very good fit. And for whatever reason, Buffalo looked at Daxon Rudolph and saw he's a really good fit for us. Keaton Verhoff to San Jose, Viggo Bjork to Winnipeg, right? Like they must have seen him and saw value in what he brings to their organization more than everybody else. Like I rank only based off of like what I can tell about the player as a player, but I could tell you like there are guys where it would really matter my interactions with them if I was working for a team. Like if I really liked a kid and he flipped me off in an interview, I'd be like, what was that for? Like, that's not very nice. Like, is that going to affect my read? He's not going to be a very good fit, right? But if someone, like if they know who I am and they play ball and are curious or whatever, then they're going to endear themselves to me and they're going to be a better fit. So it's like, it's not necessarily that simple. Now, is it going to work out for all of these teams doing these things? It's too early to tell. I think we're going to look back in this class in 10 years and see some very interesting things, but I mean, they're all very close. Like this draft was very wide open, and I'm not the only one who thought that. So yeah, I think a lot of teams went like, well, who's the best fit for us? Rather than thinking about, well, like, cause like, again, like it's a question that I think trips up everybody when I ask it, but like, what is a good hockey player? If you can explain to me what a good hockey player is, I'm all ears, because I don't think there's a right answer. And I bet if you ask 32 different scouts or GMs in the NHL, they're all going to have a different answer for you. Thoughts on the Flames? Yeah, we got asked about the Flames a little bit. I mean, I think the Flames did okay. Like Carroll's higher than I would have taken him, but again, he's in a good environment. We'll see where he goes, and he's got a good defensive floor, in my opinion. Now, Hextall, I really liked that pick at 30. I thought that made a lot of sense. I probably would have gone Preston over Harrington based on what I saw this year. That one was a little bit confusing. Getting the goalie at 42, like Treble is a good goalie, one of the best ones in the draft, I thought. I wouldn't have drafted him in the first round like some people had him, but fourth guy you draft, sure. Shiklislamov and Iginla, I saw a lot of people clowning on the Iginla pick, and I think that's awfully hasty. Like, Shiklislamov is just high-flying shooter guy. Like, there are moments where he looks like a first-round pick in some of the stuff that I've seen, and then he just disappears and is just floating around waiting for something to happen. And that's a tough profile to project. But he has some really good moments. And Joe Iginla, like, a lot of people were like, oh, nepotism and blah, 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 blah. And, like, on one hand, I kind of, whatever, I see your point. But on the other, Joe Iginla's got potential, man. Like, he is just he just hasn't grown. Like, you're betting on a kid you drafted 6th in the draft for you to grow pretty significantly. And I mean, I thought drafting him at 65 was way too quick. But I mean, I bet there would be other teams out there that saw Joe Iginla as a good development case and were prepared to take him in that range. And Calgary may have known that, and they went for it. I mean, he's very young for this draft class. His brother is much bigger than he is, so to me, those two things alone give me a little bit of confidence that you might get a few more inches out of him in height. Then he has to physically develop into that, and he's competitive and he's got skill, and like, he's a good player. It's just, I think he's just too small to play how he wants to play and be very, very successful at this level. Like, he's the perfect candidate for a guy that I'd leave in the WHL for at least another year. Because I would want him actually in that environment and getting very comfortable there, because he did not seem totally comfortable there this year, at least from my perspective. And then the other 3 guys they took, like Barabanov and Leyland especially, are just bets on skill, which is fine. I think Barabanov is a good player. I didn't have him ranked, but I would say he was one of the better re-entries that were out there that were on NHL radars for sure. Very, very smart playmaker, and who knows where he goes. And Leyland is very skilled and definitely very confident. And there's, he had a very good he'll be an NHLE darling for people who are into that stuff for sure. And Simon Katolichki is also a very interesting long-term bet. Like, he's big, has pretty good hands for a big guy. It's just there's like no and then what with him. Like, he's decently physical, he can move the puck okay, but he just doesn't have any like zip in his game. There's no like exclamation point moments with him. But he is very good. Like, he has a very intriguing potential. And like in a role with Calgary, like they don't have a ton of guys in the system like him. Like he kind of reminds me ish, and I'm not saying they're directly comparable, like, but he kind of gives me similar vibes to how I felt a little bit about Sam Honzik. Like, big with some decent skill, and you can see kind of the ingredients that are there, but like there's no zip, there's no ice cream in the sundae. It's like you got all this really cool stuff going on, but is it there yet? Where were we here? What does your gut tell you about Villeneuve? Think he's going to end up being an elite defenseman in the NHL? I mean, I hope so. I put him in the top 10. Like that, he has a tremendous amount of upside, and the pathway for him to be a top defenseman for Chicago, it is paved with gold. Like, it's very obvious that there isn't quite someone like Villeneuve in their system. And like, I know they've got Rinzel and they've got Korchinski, and now they have Byram, and that gives you a bit of time with Villeneuve. Like, you can be a little bit patient, see what you've got more of in Korchinski and more of in Rinzel, and see where it goes. But I like Villeneuve a lot, and if he plays like he did at the beginning of this year through Christmas, like before he got injured, yeah, that pick is going to look very, very good, I would think. Like, looking at some of the guys that went ahead of him, I get that there was concern, and I would not be totally like, everybody is stupid for doubting him. I'm not going to do that, but getting him at 34 is a no-brainer to me. Malte Gustafsson better than Albert Schmitz long term. I'm a big fan. I don't know about that. I mean, I think they're different players, right? I think it's apples and oranges. Like, Gustafsson is a very good defensive player. I think he has some offensive abilities that you could explore a little more. But Schmitz is also, he's just more of a two-way guy that leans offensively more. Like, I think is like I hope that the Rangers don't try to turn him into Gavrikov. Like, that's my hope, is looking at the Rangers and going, who are the guys that have worked out in their system? And it's like Trouba, Schneider, Borgen, like even a Keandre Miller, they let him go. And with Schmitz, it's like, well, he's not Gavrikov. Like, if you want him to be Gavrikov, maybe you get something like that out of him, but I see him as a like Roman Yossi style guy. Like, that's what I would take the angle on and really lean into the upside bet, because I think he could be that good. Like, he's really, really good. Gustafsson with the Islanders, though, he'll be more insulated, I think. And the defensive tools are really, really good. Like, the developmental upside is very, very high, but the same could be said about Schmitz. It's just with Schmitz, it's more about like how he's coached and deployed. Whereas Gustafsson, like, it's about like his abilities and how far he could like grow into what he's got. What about the Leafs draft? I mean, I thought the Leafs did well. The thing about the Leafs is, like, pretty much through the entire draft, they just picked a lot of good players. Like, I have a lot of time for how Zach Olsen plays the game, and that was around the range of the draft where I was like, you could just take who you want. I don't really care. Like, some of the guys still available, it's like, I just really like them, but I get why other people don't, right? Like for team scouting, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was McKenna at 1, Anderson at 60, Valentini 69, And then I think I went goalie with Fedorov and Henriquez, who both did end up getting drafted. And then at 85, I don't remember what I did. But regardless, like, the Leafs kind of came out. They came out with an interesting defenseman in Bleki. I think there's some good upside there. I had Inasto ranked as a goalie on my list. I liked what I saw out of him. I just didn't see enough to like really know what I was looking at. Plumans, I liked this year as well. I mean, I think, you know, that's kind of where I could have seen him going in the mid to later rounds. I have a lot of time for how Zach Olsen plays the game. Cooper Williams is like a vintage Kyle Dubas pick in my opinion. I thought he would go to Pittsburgh just because he is a puck managing guy. Like, he's a very aware puck manager style of player that likes to slow the game down and see things from a bunch of different angles. And I didn't see enough there to consider him an NHL player, but like maybe. Fedosiev, I wanted to really like Fedosiev. I watched a bunch of them this year, and he's got really interesting offensive tools for sure. Like, he's got some good range, he's got some skill, he's got a really good shot from the point. I just think that you let him go in Russia. Like, I was surprised he lasted that far. I thought someone would take a swing on him earlier. So when I saw his name come up, honestly, I was like, wow, I forgot he was still available. But like, that's an interesting pull. Like, at 161 this year, I mean, everybody kind of had a similar-ish vibe to me in terms of like how confident I was. There are guys that I really liked, and Fedosiev, he ended up not ranked on my list, but he was there all year pretty much until June. It's just I don't know, like, as an NHL defenseman, I still don't really know if he has all the tools that, like, all the ingredients to get there. But like, again, I'm not going to say it's impossible. He's 17, 18 years old, and we'll see where he is in 5 years. Like, that's kind of the thing. You leave him in Russia, and Chelyabinsk is a pretty good team, and see where he goes. And Pipoy is the only one that I need to look at. Saginaw is the only. I saw a little bit of him this year, but he just kind of slipped through the cracks for me. I know some people really like him, but I'll take a look at him. And Goodmanson, I mean, you might end up with a depth guy there, right? Like, Goodmanson's upside is pretty limited, I would say, right now. But he is very tall, very lanky, uses his reach pretty well. And I think he has a bit of skill to him that could be a benefit for Toronto. But I would expect just a guy, you know, like, that's kind of what I expect out of him. And if there's more there, then great. He did have a decent amount of production this year, but I don't know if I buy all of it based on how he plays. But solid, just dude. And I thought he looked really good off of a guy like the guy, oh my God, Malte Gustafsson. I thought they played well together at the under 18s and complemented each other quite well. Is it fair with the Canucks? Malhotra picks based on quality, B level based on vibes, A+. I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's a great story. Like, it'll be a really fascinating story to cover. And like, Malhotra is a good player. Like, I don't want to get it wrong. Like, he's a good player. It's just, I think the developmental runway for him is longer than some of the other guys available. And I see what the appeal is. I see the things he does well, and I see all that stuff. And if Vancouver is willing to work with him and be patient, and, you know, like, you're not going to see him for a couple of years at least, right? So, but I would expect him to be, you know, have a good summer, go to college, and look pretty good there right away. Like, I think he's a good player. Worth drafting at 3. I think it's too early to tell. But in this year's draft class, like, the difference between him and guys drafted 10 spots after him, like him versus Malte Gustafsson, I know which way I would go, but they're not realistically, like, they're not that far apart. I think they are a bit, they're apart in my books, but like, I don't think it's that outrageous. Aren't the negatives about McTavish that he has slow processing speed and slow foot speed? Every time I see the Ducks, that's not, I mean, the processing is definitely not, like, he's not Sidney Crosby, right? Like, that's not his job. But my thing with him was, like, he can get a good head of steam going, and he can play quite physical, and that might relegate him to being a winger. But I do I know he's not like the most effortless looking skater, but I feel like he gets around okay. And I liked when I watched him with the Ducks this year. It just felt like they hadn't really ironed out like a day-to-day job that really worked for him, even if I did like how he looked playing with Gauthier and Seneca, and I think they balanced each other really well. But I mean, look, they paid a lot to get him, and they're buying low. But in St. Louis, like again, it comes down to like a system and how they think he's going to fit in the system. And clearly, if you do your homework, they must see something that they like. I feel like the Blues can do with McTavish what they did with Holloway. I mean, maybe. Again, it's like it's impossible to know. But I imagine that, I mean, they're different players, but I imagine the goal is, you know, yeah, like, I mean, you're if you get a really good second line winger or a really good, like a good third line center out of him one day, you paid a lot to get that, but I get it. You know, you have a lot of young players already. They don't want to bottom out. I get the logic. They just paid a lot. That's fine. Do we have the Gleb soundboard? The Gleb soundboard already exists on Discord. So if you want to play with the Gleb soundboard, you have to be a scouching.ca subscriber, and you'll get access to our soundboard that now has Gleb. Thoughts on the Rangers taking Schmitz? We kind of went over that. I hope it works, because him in Showtime, Madison Square Garden, fans are going to love it. But if he's if they try to turn him into Brent Burns, I think it could be a lot of fun. If they try to turn him into Vladislav Gavrikov, I'm worried you're going to get Rasmus Ristolainen, who I refuse to believe. I still believe that at 17 years old, Rasmus Ristolainen had a lot of potential as a more offensive big guy, and it just wasn't meant to be. Do you see Mbui reaching the NHL? I mean, the reason I had him lower, like on pure ability and how much I respected their playing style, Bowie was a guy that I would have had in the earlier parts of the second round. Probably early in the year, I think I had him in the first round. It's just he is so rambunctious, but he's also just so small and gets thrown around a lot. Like, I know he's not the smallest guy out there. Like, I had Justavar Karlsson ranked higher, but he doesn't really handle pressure super well from my experience. And it's like, I love seeing him throwing his weight around and everything. It's just he doesn't have that much of an impact on the game. And so when I've watched him this year, like, I love every time I see him, but I watch him and I go, is it going to be enough in the NHL to like really move the needle and to make a difference? And like, so it's like, I hope the answer to that is yes, right? Like, I would love to see Pearson Bowie be a great pick at 86, and you know, it's later than I had him ranked, so that's good in my books. I just think it's like, I could see why the teams are a little more skeptical and how it might take a little bit of time to see that through and see where it goes. Thoughts on Goodmanson? We kind of went over Toronto already. Xavier Villeneuve could be a steal. I mean, yes, he could be a steal at 34. A lot of guys, you could make an argument, a lot of guys could be steals. Like we just talked about Pearson Bowie. If things break right for him at 86, that could look awfully good if it works. I think the prominent Wheeler list mentioned Buffalo liked Rudolph and could take him over Reed. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Why did the three best defensemen in the draft fall? Bleki, McKenzie, and Goodmanson? Because the rest of the league found out John Chayka wanted them, and they went, well, if they want them, then they can't be good, so we'll pass. I don't know. Why did Valentini fall so much? I mean, I was told that his combine was a very strange experience, and was not great. And I think teams already were primed to be down on him. But I agree. I think teams will probably want to kick themselves after this is over. Because, yeah, I think that he is quite good. And he could be a very annoying player to play against if I'm an NHL team. Where does Michelli end up? Dude, I don't know, man. I'm surprised Toronto's not keeping him. The only thing that makes sense is that Toronto, like, he wanted a lot of money, and Toronto said no. And they're calling his bluff a little bit. Like because it is possible, because as an RFA, I don't believe you can make less money as an RFA than you did the year before. So if Toronto's looking at Matias Maccelli and going, well, we would pay less to keep you, and Michelli's going, well, I want more, then they don't qualify him, and maybe some other team jumps out and picks him up and whatever. Like, I mean, Chaika drafted him, right, with Arizona, so it's not like he doesn't know the player. So that makes me think that there is either like other reasons Toronto let him walk, or Chaika is like, you want too much money, and it's not that we don't want you, but we'll offer you a deal that we think you're worth on July 1st and see if you accept, right? Like, maybe someone out there is going to offer him $6 million a year, and Chaika will go, okay, no, we're not doing that. But maybe if he wants 6 and Toronto's like, well, we'll give you 3, and he's like, well, I'd rather go to July 1, and they go, okay, fair enough, bet, and they just don't qualify him. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but he was good. He was good for them last year. I don't know. He was fine. I don't really know why you would get rid of him, but I don't know. So where does he end up? I don't know. Seattle or something. Maybe Detroit. Detroit gives you Matias Maccelli. You see Ryan Healy got traded. I did. He is a hockey player, yes. How did you like Sievertson heading into the draft? I mean, he's another one of these big guys that can shoot, man. Like, that has some value. I don't mind him. I watched a lot of him in the last few days before the draft just to make sure I didn't want to have him on the list, or before I finalized my rankings. And I don't know. I mean, like, he's just a skilled guy, and for a big man, like, I just don't know if it's gonna project without some good development. Like, again, it's like a lot of these guys. It's like they're not going to play in the NHL tomorrow, but like, if they improve in some pretty key areas, you know, like for Sievertson, like, he's a little clunky on his feet for me. Skill through traffic is more about just how big he is, rather than like a level of puck control that seems like it would work in the NHL, but I guess you can get away with it when you're big. You know, he's a good player and a pretty important part of a good team in PA, and we'll see what happens. Like, in terms of guys I didn't have ranked, like, there are definitely things about his game where I could at least identify, like, all right, that's something I can bet on. It's just, it got to the point where it's like, do I like him or player X that I have ranked 70th? And my answer was player X most of the time. 2027 draft rankings expected tomorrow. Well, too bad. Why do you think Reed fell? I don't think Reed like fell. Like, I took a lot of crap for having Reed at 10 and he went 7. I think teams saw the defensive stuff. Like, again, I think teams, like, Carroll's had good defensive traits that were pretty evident. Schmitz also did as well. Rudolph I don't get. I just don't understand it. But Reed is good, but I think things got really out of control with him. And I never understood him at 2, really. Like, I guess if you really believe that he could be like a Morgan Riley style puck rushing specialist, you know, power play quarterback, then sure, maybe he's worth it there. But like, where he went and where he went to, it makes a ton of sense. Like, Seattle doesn't have a guy like him in the system. They desperately need some really high-end potential defensemen. And I mean, yeah, like, I you know, on paper Bjork was higher, and I probably would have wanted Bjork over Reed if I was Seattle, but like, what else do you want if you're Seattle? You have so many forwards. And Reed's a good pick. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was a close year too. Like, some teams might just have leaned a certain way. Any thoughts on Fedosiev? Oh, we did that. I wonder if the draft order got a little wonky due to mechanisms with the NCAA. I don't know. I don't think there is, like, I don't know what the wonkiness would be, really. I don't know. You think Verhoff is a Hobie Baker finalist? Maybe, but I don't think so. I mean, it's going to be tough to, well, I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but like, never count out like that those guys tend to be older, like the more experienced college guys. Like I don't know. Like if even Wittenbach goes back and has a huge year again, like does he get to be a finalist? Like all it takes is 3 guys to knock him out of that. But I mean, it's possible. He could have a great year next year. Like otherwise, normally he'd be a freshman and he'll be a sophomore. I think that's a huge advantage. Teams seem to misunderstand the point of the draft, which is to find guys you can't find in free agency every year. Meanwhile, New York will draft guys that they hope will be fourth liners. I mean, I don't think that's what teams are thinking either. I think teams are just thinking we're adding players. Like, if that were the case, then like, why are they drafting 6'7" guys out of prep school, right? Like, the NHL isn't like clamoring over each other to sign Logan Stanley this summer, I don't think, right? Like, teams, I think, are just looking for guys they can play, like especially outside the first round. Like they're looking at, yes, Celebrini won the bake. I'm usually it, yes, but usually it never happens. But yeah, like I don't know. I mean, I think it's more about like finding guys you can play and you know that will fit in, right? Like it's like scouts want to keep their job, so they'll go, who do I think we can assign value to? Because like I feel like the idea of like what you can't find in free agency every year, like, okay, look at the free agencies this year. Like look at the free agents. Like what are you finding this year? Like everybody talks about how not great this free agency period is. It's like, okay, so then you either have to go scrounging around the discount bin and do your homework to find something you find valuable, or you're just plugging little holes in your lineup. And what's the difference between that and doing it through the draft, right? Like, I think teams are just looking for guys that they think could plug holes in their lineup in some way, some beneficial way. Like, teams can do that, you know. I it's not my strategy, but I get it. Who's better at rematch, you or Rand? The answer is me. I bet Rudolph was picked because they see his ceiling or play style as Bouchard. I mean, okay. If that's what they see, then go for it. I don't know. Who are my favorite picks for Toronto outside of McKenna? The goalies are interesting. Fedosiev, where they took him, is interesting. Gudmundsson makes sense. So, yeah, those guys, I'd say. Flyers apparently the most aggressive team in the Werenski sweepstakes. That would be interesting. They have the pieces to make it work. I mean, that sounds like Matvei Michkov leaving Philadelphia. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't like that very much, but I don't know. They're going to ask for a lot for Werenski, that's for sure. Why is the stream in 2 places? Because Streamlabs is a little silly, and I can't send a vertical stream to the dual stream on YouTube yet. That's all. I know it's a little annoying, but it's the way it's got to be unless I don't want to stream on Shorts. But I do want to stream on Shorts. Can you explain on Valentini Combine thing? Yeah, I mean, he was just not very good there. Like a couple of people told me that, like that he just wasn't. They went in expecting him to change a lot of the thought around him, and the physical performance testing was underwhelming for them, and I know that it was not fun. It was not very good. And I think that added, like, again, teams came in with preconceived notions about these guys. Valentini is one of them. And they went, see? Like, yeah, he didn't meet our expectations when we needed him to, and therefore we'll go somewhere else. And all it takes is for most teams to like somebody more than you, and next thing you know, you're a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, you know? Yep. Got a gleb. Yep, gleb. What did you think about the drafting strategy, picking players in the mid-rounds who fell due to poor draft year performances caused in part by playing through injuries or missed games? I would want examples. I don't know off the top of my head. That's a very specific subset of guys, and I don't really know who you'd be talking about. Yeah, Pittsburgh did draft Galvis. That's pretty hilarious. And yes, the cream of the crop bottom 6 guys are the ones that actually make sense in free agency. I agree. I mean, Kaylor Yamamoto off the market today. That's a guy I would have been calling, and I'm sure I would have paid him more than Utah's paying him, but maybe he really likes Salt Lake. Who knows? What's in the short thing here? A lot of Iginla stuff. Canucks. Yeah, we did the Canucks earlier. In 7 or 8 years, if Villeneuve never really improves his defending and he's objectively bad, is it possible for him to be a 7th defenseman and a power play 1 guy and special offensively? I mean, I think Villeneuve's defensive game is better than people give him credit for. He's not Radko Gudas, but like look at Lane Hudson defending now. Like he has a net positive impact defensively now after a very rough rookie season. And a lot of that is just due to defending with his feet a lot better and like positionally guiding guys in the right spots. And I think Villeneuve does that really well. I don't know. I mean, I don't like, even if his defending physically doesn't come a ways, I don't think it's gonna. Like, I think you're gonna have, like, it's like, oh, what if, like, Shane Gostisbehere just won a Stanley Cup, like, as a middle pair guy, top 4 guy, who other teams just tossed aside because he wasn't big enough and wasn't strong enough and whatever, da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, you never really notice and shake your fist at Shane Gostisbehere all that much, at least not with Carolina. So with Villeneuve, like, I don't think it's that bad. Like, if we're talking never really improves at defending and stuff, like, I don't know. I saw Daxon Rudolph, like, everybody calls him poised and everything, but he seemed to get beat a lot defensively. Like, if you want to question guys for their defending, there are other targets as well that were drafted much, much, much higher. So I don't know. I tend to look at the positive case on all this and worry about the downside, like, in 5 years. You know, it's not like I'm not really thinking like, what if this doesn't happen and it's been, 3 days since they were drafted? It's like, well, what if this doesn't happen? Is it still salvageable? It's like, well, like, I mean, he's got a ton of potential, man. Like, he could be a really good player. Are there any defensemen that stand out for 2027 as a potential top 10, top 5? I did make my 2027 document here. But you might be looking at, like, I mean, Landon DuPont is the obvious one. Brock Cripps, if he has a good summer, I could see Brock Cripps being a guy that shoots up the board. Douglas Johnson is really good too over in Sweden. I could see him making the jump. A good summer from Lucas Kashlier. He could be a guy that takes a leap as well, even though he's small. Malik L'Italien, I've liked him. Who else? Levi Harper. I don't know about top 5 with Levi Harper, but he could be good. There's a lot of interesting players for next year, for sure. But I don't have the mental capacity to really be definitive on that. Yes, but DuPont. Yeah. You can take the answer for whatever you want to be. I think he is a top guy. And it could work out extremely well. And I will hope that it works out extremely well because it would be awesome. Him on a power play feeding Connor Bedard the puck and having like Oliver Moore there too. Yeah, no, I will take that. Thank you very much. And if you don't like it, I'll take him. One thing that struck me at the end of the draft was how many of the people on your list were taken. Is this the draft you first started tracking with the most people off your list drafted? I don't know, actually. But yeah, a lot of them did get taken. And the ones that didn't, like, none of them really surprised me. The only one that didn't surprise me was Duguay. But like Rhea Beacon going undrafted, Soderberg, Yustavar Carlson, Fomin, Lemieux, like too small, and nobody knows who he is. Not much of a defensive game really right now. Small and physical, small. Like, yeah, teams aren't going to draft those guys when push comes to shove. And then the watch list guys I had. Let's see, yeah, like I'm a little surprised nobody took Ammerhein. You know, like if Ryan Rubrick is a top 40 pick and Landon Ammerhein goes undrafted, like I could see that being a move next year that we look back on and see him as a re-entry guy. Isakson, I'm not really surprised. Like skilled, but not much is there. Skilled, but not much is there. Brungle Larson not getting picked is very surprising. I didn't realize that until just now. But yeah, like I would say that like starting for next year, I mean, I should probably just do it, but like I will probably circle back pretty quickly on Ammerhein, Tukio, Brungle Larson, Eriksson. I'll still keep hammering away at Langvard and Sundqvist, especially Langvard. Thompson, all those guys I probably will have on my list to start the year next year at the very, very least. And like obviously all these guys will be there. Like I'd want to see where those guys are next season. So yeah. I mean, like the Yustavar Carlson thing, like I am kind of surprised that not a single team went, we watched him at the World Juniors, screw it. Like, I don't know. I think I could be wrong, but oh no, never mind. What I inferred from your answer is he has to get better defensively to stick in the NHL. How? I like with Villeneuve, like I was saying, he's better than people give him credit for. Like, if the strict concern is he gets pushed around in front of the net, he's the type of defenseman that avoids that scenario in the first place with really good neutral zone defending and really good positional defending. Like, obviously that's a weak point, but like if that's strictly what your focus is, then I think you're missing the forest you're missing the forest there. Like you're looking at it strictly from the point of view of like, well, physicality is what really matters. Why is Schmitz being billed by the media as a low upside pick? I don't know. Because they see his point totals maybe, and they see that he's big and didn't score at the Olympics, or he did, but I don't know. They are wrong, though. They are wrong. And if they think that that's the case, then his career is doomed. Because if that's what you believe he is, I don't know what to tell you. Now that you know where Joe McGinley went, how many spots did his name move him up in his opinion? My opinion? Well, enough to matter. But probably quite a bit. Like, he went a round ahead of Adam Valentini. He went a round ahead of Viktor Fyodorov. He went a round ahead of some of these guys, and I'm going, if you're really optimistic, then go for it. I don't know. I'm sure it mattered in some level. JC Lemieux didn't get picked. I mean, because Lemieux is a goal-scoring primarily forward who is fast and physical and not big. Like, it's that simple to me. Like, he's a little small, he plays very big, and NHL teams are automatically going to be scared of that, right? Like, think about it, right? Think of the what's it called? The diagram where you're doing like risk management, right? You could either draft a big guy or a small guy that is physical. If you draft the big guy who isn't physical, you can go, well, we can make them physical and make them more of a hitty boy. Therefore, they will then have more of an advantage than the small hitty boy that is that way now. And a small non-hitty boy is a non-starter. That is just not an option. Unless we assign that it is an option, right? So it's like teams will automatically go, well, the bigger guy, we can get them to a point where they can manhandle a guy like Lemieux. And Lemieux, when he gets older, is not going to be able to manhandle that bigger guy that we could develop, right? So whether or not you agree with that, it's not my business, but like that's the logic, is like if we take the big guy, they will become more valuable than Lemieux, even if Lemieux is a very physical player and very hard to handle. What do I like about Schmitz over Reed? I think Schmitz is a better puck protector with some more advanced offensive zone tools. He's a more engaged defenseman as well. Reed was very passive and very sort of relaxed, and that can work, but when it doesn't, it's notable. Yeah. Yeah, like Schmitz just the resume also with Schmitz was just, I mean, obviously he had more opportunity than Reed, and that's a little unfair to Reed, but like he looked pretty damn good at the Olympics. I enjoyed watching Schmitz at the Olympics more than Reed at the World Juniors, and he was good there too. So yeah, like they're kind of similar-ish, but I also just had a lot more fun watching Albert Schmitz. Like he could be quite something if developed well, but it'll take development. Yeah, Schmitz's puck protection and everything, like it's really impressive. He uses his feet and his hands really, really well. I find it strange Lemieux got an invite to development camp. Wouldn't you just draft him? Well, no, like he could have been the next best guy on their list, right? Like the set for the Sens, like what are they gonna do, right? Like trade a future considerations and draft a guy like the Sens. You invite a guy to camp. Also, the Sens drafted Alexander Grunin. I don't think we've talked about that enough in the world, but that's very funny. But I don't really think it's that complicated. Like with a guy like Lemieux, I could easily see how a team could look at a player like that and go, it's not going to work. So why would you draft him? Right? Like if I can look at a player and I go, I have doubts about them being a thing, then that devalues them. And I could see Lemieux being a guy where teams go, I don't think it's going to work. Alexander Grunin, I think you could articulate an argument that it could work. And you're putting your name next to that guy. Lemieux, like you might have interviewed him a bunch of times over the course of the season, turned around and went, well, we may not have drafted you, but we like you, so let's hang out. Like it, like it's possible. Some guys were drafted this year that were at camps previously. I think Florida took one. So yeah, like it's not crazy. It's just sometimes these things happen. As a follow-up, amongst the people left from your list that weren't taken, which ones do you think will get taken as overagers next year? I mean, Duguay could be one, especially if he grows a bit. If Soderberg plays a full year of men's hockey next year, I could see him being very good offensively and having that make sense. Ammerhein, I think Ammerhein has all the tools to be an NHL draft pick, but he just didn't show it enough. Brongo Larson, Ossi Tukio, those guys I could see maybe taking a step. I mean, Braden Thompson, I still love Braden Thompson. Like he's probably going back to Youngstown next year, and I would imagine that he will have a lot more ice time. So, yeah. And Eric Polk, I felt similarly about him as I felt about Eric Polkamp when Polkamp was 17, and he didn't get drafted. He didn't score much. He's small, and now look at him. So, maybe. Did you take a look at the Leafs development camp? Yeah, I did. I didn't see anybody there that like really was like, oh my god, wow. It was fun seeing another Latvian goalie coming to camp though. That's fun. What about the Canucks' performance overall? Rogowski and the other guy they took after that? Well, Aram Olsen is a bet on high-end skill. That's pretty clear to me. He's just a skill bet, and the fourth guy you take, go nuts. Rogowski is a development one. Like, you're betting on what he is in 5 years, and like I could see him being a bottom six center in the NHL pretty easily. Like, just he moves the puck pretty well for a big guy, has some skill, can finish. Like, I think there's good ability there. I just think he has a long way to go to get there, and that's all. Like, good player though, on a bad team this year. I'd love to see a little bit more of a physical game there than what he's got, but for what he is and what he does well, like, it's fine. It wouldn't have been my pick there, but like, he was gonna go in that range. It just was gonna happen. I mean, like, okay, so obviously Preston and Villeneuve being skipped over by Vancouver, like, again, it wouldn't have been my decision, but also you have to understand, again, like, teams are looking at this going, does it work, right? Like, think about the argument, right? If you're an NHL team that believes that Xavier Villeneuve is too small, and he's either Lane Hudson or he's, you know, in their minds, Eric Brandstrom, right? Like, there's just no, it's a black and white issue. So they're like, well, there's a risk that he's still kind of fighting off an injury, which is entirely possible. And if that's the case, then that gives you pause. Because again, like 33rd overall, you want a player. So if you can articulate a case where you're like, I don't see it working, then you skip over that player. And with Rogowski, like, it's not that he's like ready to play today, but he is 6'7" and a huge boy. And he does have some good skill for a big man. He does shoot the puck quite well for a big guy as well. And he moves the puck, I think, pretty well. Like, the way he sees the ice, he's placed some really good passes in the games that I've seen. It's just, he just hasn't really, like, looked really that dominant, really. Whereas I look at Villeneuve and Preston as pretty much the only guys in that range where I go, they've looked dominant, like dominant level players at their level. And Rogowski plays at the same level. So, you know, but I can see the articulated case, right? I could see it. But I still don't agree with it. But like, there is a universe where Rogowski is a third or fourth line center in the NHL, and Mathis Preston is shooting the lights out in Germany, and Xavier Villeneuve is an AHL superstar. If that's the case, then you look back on this and go, boy, I'm glad we didn't listen to that Scouch guy and drafted Rogowski. Like, it's possible. There are things to be worried about with guys like Villeneuve and Preston. I personally am not going to make assumptions based on things that other people are assuming. I'm going to go off my own experience and see what happens. But it's not like I don't understand it. Thoughts on Yuri Ivanov? I haven't gotten to him yet. You'll have to wait for the recap. What do you think about Pugachev? Gleb is, he'll be entertaining, man. He is legitimately very entertaining. Physical as it gets. He'll complement some of the skill guys Montreal's already drafted and everything. He'll do very well doing that. He has his job. He seems to love his job. And he's a lot of fun to watch. What do you think Dubas and Clark's methods for determining player IQ? Combine interviews, talking to staff and teammates, and standardized testing? Yes, I know they do a lot of that. They do a lot of like video breakdowns of like, what would you do in this situation? What do you do in this? What do you do here? What do you do here? They do a lot of psychological stuff with guys. I know that for a fact. I know that's why they liked Fraser Minton so much and Easton Cowan. Just guys who see the game really, really well. And then their philosophy is it's hard to teach a kid how to, I'll put it this way, right? Like, this is boiling it down far too much. But if you watch like the intermissions and like if you watch intermissions and see those kids, right? The Timbits, you know, they're all chasing the puck. They're all over it, and they're all just following the puck around, and yada yada yada. And the ironic bit or the funny bit to me is always like, well, look for the kids who aren't following the puck around. You know, obviously I'm not scouting Timbits hockey, but I'm just making a point. Like, I think guys like Dubas try to find as many guys as they can that try to stay ahead of where things are going rather than constantly pursuing, right? Like, when you don't have the puck, where is the play going? How do you position yourself? And if you have the puck, how aware are you of what's going on around you and where everybody is on the ice? Because that is a skill. And I personally believe that that's a really hard thing to just like learn. I think it's possible, but it's really hard to learn. In my book, and that's something that probably comes with experience, a lot of game experience, if you don't have it. And so it's like, well, we can teach a kid to skate better. We can teach a kid to shoot the puck better. Like, what kid doesn't want to stay after school and shoot pucks for 2 hours and make their shot better? Like, what kid doesn't want to do that? That's easy. The difficult part is like getting them to understand and play the game at the speed the NHL is played at and staying ahead of that level of play. So I could see why putting your chips on a guy that you think could do that well and then work on the rest later, like a Liam Ruck, for example, it makes sense. It's just like, how much do you think you're going to get out of guys? Thoughts on what the Jets got in Bjork? One of the highest ceiling guys in the draft. Like, he's a center that is a little small, but again, like, if he grows by 2 of these over the next 5 years, nobody cares about how big he is. I guarantee it. Competitive, very good puck mover, very smart, goes to the net, competes. Like, he does not back down from anybody. I love Vico Bjork. He's great. Not there yet. I don't think he's an NHLer today, but yeah, pretty good. If pro scouting improves league-wide, drafting and developing premium bottom 6 pieces make more sense in the current environment, though there's enough gaps for Tulski to wreak havoc. Yeah, I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes are just, like, it's so obvious what they're doing. It's very funny to me. They're just, I mean, they aren't really going for the bottom 6 guys. They're if anything, they're kind of doing the opposite. They're looking like, does this guy have a 5% chance of being a superstar? You know, like, that's what they're looking at. That's what Mikey Burchild was. Burchild is unlikely to do it, but if he does, he'll be very good. Like, you want to talk Jackson Blake style players, like Mikey Burchild might be that. So who knows where he goes from here. How many points would Schmitz have put up in the OHL? Probably a lot, although it depends. Would a team let him play his natural style of play? You know, like, he's an aggressive defenseman, like, but he probably would score. I could see him being a point a game guy. Sure, depends on the team that he's on too, and how many power plays they get. I think Rubeck will figure it out if he goes the NCAA, and if he goes the NCAA route, do you think Michigan State? Well, I have no idea. I mean, Michigan State can't get everybody. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say guys can't figure it out. I don't think that's fair. Like, especially because, like, I'm not a professional athlete, right? Like, I play hockey. Like, I can skate, I can shoot, I can play hockey, but I'm not in a position to, like, look at a kid who just had a dream come true and be like, meh, that might be a mistake. It's like, well, he's clearly capable of some really interesting stuff. And for Rubrick especially, like, I think a lot of it is in here. Like, it's not necessarily the abilities that he has, but it's in here where I go, that's where I think it's just not right fully. Like, the shift by shift consistency, the pace he plays the game at, all of that stuff. Like, it's not how skilled he is, it's not how good of a skater he is that's the issue. It's not the shot, it's not the fundamentals. It's like in here. And this can be a tough thing to crack. This can be a tough thing to fix. And is it impossible? Absolutely not. And I think he could be a good buy low candidate. I just find that the way a guy is wired is tough to change. That's all. Am I wrong with him specifically? It's entirely possible. I'm sure I had guys ranked. I didn't have him ranked, but, like, I'm sure I had guys that are ranked that will not go as far as he does in his career. I'm sure that'll happen. But I always think about it from the perspective of, like, if I'm a team picking guys that I like and that would play in a system that I have, and Rubrek just didn't quite get there enough. But it's not impossible at all. And, like, in Chicago, like, he also will have the ability to be more like what he naturally is. Like, I think Chicago has a lot of guys already there that like are that high pace, high intensity, high physicality level player that maybe he can play off of in an interesting way and be more of that like Ethan Belchet style complementary winger. And maybe that's what happens. What do I think of Thomas Kralovic? I have not seen him, but he's on my list to get there. 32 goalies taken. Did every team get one? No, but I took a few for team scouting, which I have desperately needed. Well, maybe not desperately, but there are 3 good ones. Oh, this is last year. Like, I think there were 3 goalies this year that I landed that I really like. Fedorov, Leonardo Henriquez, and Lascelles. I really like all 3 of these guys. I wanted Sklenichka too. I wouldn't have taken Lascelles if I had Sklenichka, but he got taken too quickly. But I mean, they're not the biggest goalies in the world, but they are unbelievably athletic and unbelievably successful. And that, to me, matters quite a bit. Yeah, they're good players. We're fans. Where are we here? How would you have felt if the Pens drafted Lynn instead of San Jose? I would have been a classic Dubas pick. Lynn would have made a ton of sense to them. And it would have been a good pick for them. Ruck could work out, right? Like, Liam Ruck could work out. I could see it working. I just think he has a long way to go. That's all. I was surprised Tomu went so late. Yeah, I am too. Curious about Novotny. I know little about him. You think he can be a top 6 guy? Yeah, it's possible. Look, him and Malhotra, I had him ranked higher than Malhotra. You can see that. But I think they're relatively comparable. Like, I think for a team that had 3rd and 24th, getting 2 guys in the lottery-ish range is pretty good. Novotny is underratedly physical. I would say that his like pursuit game and energy is really good, and I think that he can like close gaps a lot better than he used to, play that sort of two-way game a lot better. I don't think he's going to be the guy on your line, but he could be a very good complementary offensive guy. Like, the idea of him playing with Marco Rossi is pretty enticing one day. Or Atu Ratu could be a good pick to put with him. God only knows who Vancouver's going to add between now and when Novotny comes to the NHL, whenever that is. But like Novotny, like honestly, there's a big part of me that would see how he does in camp and be comfortable with him in the AHL as soon as next year. Like, he played pro hockey in Czechia before this past season, and I don't think he's going to learn too much by staying in Peterborough. So unless he wants to go to college, which I don't even know if that's possible, I could see him being a guy that I would let develop in the AHL for a while and just be patient and work through the issues, because I think he needs to be challenged a little bit. I feel like the Fedorov bet the Canes made is similar to Dustin Wolf. Yeah, I mean, Fedorov is amazing. Like, I think he's a great goalie, and I'm glad I got him. Because if you got a good goalie, like, your life gets way easier, and everybody seems to love him. I've heard the guy's a machine off the ice, and yeah, no, and I really liked him with the 67s this year. Any interest from the fact that the 2026 draft had the most goalies taken ever? Well, I said a bunch of times going in that it's a pretty good year for goalies. You know, like, the goalies available this past season were pretty good, in my view. And that's next season. And a lot of them I felt were, yeah, like, worth drafting for sure. Like, here are all the goalies that got picked. At least the ones that I had in my tracker. Yeah, Nikonovic even to Pittsburgh. I mean, that's a great pull. He showed really good analytics in the stuff that I have here. So, yeah, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I know NHL teams weren't like thrilled with this draft class in general, but yeah. Where do you think Suvanto fits on a Capitals prospect pyramid? Oh, that reminds me, we're adding a tier to the prospect pyramids this year. For certain types of players. That we're going to be doing it as franchise at the top, then core, then complementary is a new one, then depth, and then maybes, and then everybody else. So we're adding one more tier to be sort of that mushy middle. Like depth is like maybe guys that are healthy scratches but can play, like just a guy you have, or complementary could be like an everyday dude who does a thing but is not a guy you definitely don't want to trade, or a guy that you will never ever ever trade almost certainly. So for Suvanto, I'd probably be pretty comfortable putting him in maybe complementary. Like I don't think he's a core level guy, and I don't think he's quite a depth guy. Like he's not like a fourth liner, but I could see him being a useful guy in the middle of your lineup, second or third. Thoughts on Ivanov and Grunin? I can't talk too much about Ivanov, sorry. I don't know there, but Grunin, man. Grunin's hilarious. Like, we came across him, like, halfway through the year. I don't know how. I think he came up to the MHL, like, halfway through the year and put up some really good numbers in the first few games, and my model flagged him, and I went and looked. I mean, the guy's a cowboy. Like, he kind of sometimes like doesn't know how to play hockey. I think like he kind of just like loses track of the game and can throw the puck away and just kind of disappear. But then he gets on his horse and like gets around the ice and actually has some really good defensive moments where you're like, huh, okay. Like I would have happily drafted him. Like, who did I even? I don't even remember who I took already. That's crazy. Yeah, like, so I had all these guys, and I think Grunin was gone by the time Soderberg was the last guy that I would have taken, right? I think Grunin was a 7th rounder. Yeah, so he went 183rd, so I didn't have a pick. I could have taken him here, but I like Soderberg more. But like, Grunin is a animal. Like, he can really go. So yeah. Really good. I don't know if he's an NHLer. He's got a really long way to go, and he plays in the silver division of the Eastern Conference, or the gold. Is it gold? I don't know. He plays in the Eastern Conference of the Russian Junior League, which is it's a bad place. You're the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hermansen, Gleb, or Hemming? Probably Hermansen, but Hemming could work. Hemming is an interesting pickup, long-term bet. It could work, but I like Hermansen the most. Do you care about size at all, or just actual hockey stuff? Well, I care about how you use your size. That's what I care about. Like, if you're big, that's cool. It doesn't add anything, really, but, like, looking at the whole package, that factors in, right? Like, if you're big and you can't skate, then it doesn't make a difference to me. That's a problem. But if you're small and you can't skate, it's the same thing. It's arguably a bigger problem. So, yeah, the smaller guy, like the size to me, like it doesn't really make that much of a difference, especially when I look at like their impact on the game and like where they look strong and where they look not so strong. And that's what matters to me. So, like, I care mostly about how they play, but how they play also intertwines with their size and how they manage around it. Because, like, you can be small and play good hockey. You just have to understand, like, things like leverage and center of gravity control and the fact that you need to be playing at a breakneck speed. You've got to be faster than the guys you're on the ice with per stride. Like, you have to be able to do all that stuff. What's your opinion of Chicago's drafting style, notably picking Levshinov over Demidov, Frondel over Martone, Boisvert over Hage? Well, I mean, Chicago has drafted a ton. I wouldn't be too critical of Frondel over Martone at all. I think those guys will probably have similar level NHL careers for different reasons. But, I mean, I don't know. It's too early to tell. They're still in the basement of the league. So you've still got to be patient. They've made decisions that I wouldn't have made, but they've also made decisions I definitely would have made. Like, a lot of teams, they don't, like, not every team is going to like line up with your image of like what should and shouldn't happen at all, right? Like that's just not going to be possible. And you kind of have to let the chips fall. Like you have to see where things land. And for them, like, yeah, they made some different decisions, but like I kind of see where they're coming from a lot. It's just like we've done this before on the show, but like the guys that were just the best players available on my list at their given picks, like they're a little small, but it would be a hell of a team to watch for a number of reasons. You know Zach Jones at all? Yes, I would sign him in a heartbeat this summer. Thoughts on Bjork? We did that. If Rubric figures it out, he could be Jamie Benn or Jason Robertson. Sure, and if I guess the right lottery numbers on Thursday, I'm a multimillionaire. Like, sure, I could, yeah. Even I mean, I just haven't seen him. Like, I don't know who that is. Right? Unless I'm thinking of a different Ivanov. Oh, Alexander Ivanov. Yes, I actually have seen him. I thought this was for some reason a goalie or something. Not the painter, by the way. He's not the painter. Yeah, Alex Ivanov. I actually have seen him a few times over the course of this year. He was on my ranking, I think, in the winter, like in December. I know he was on the list for stretches of this year. Really boring, effective, solid defenseman. I didn't see much there where I went, yes, this guy's definitely an NHLer, but like he's got a decent amount of size to him. He's got a little bit of a lot of different habits defensively that are solid. Like you're drafting him because he might be able to eat some minutes down the lineup. Like I don't think he's a steal or anything, but you can see why he played men's hockey in Russia for almost all of this season. But you can also see why he wasn't very productive there. Like it's not easy to be productive there at that age as a defenseman, but he is more of a defensive leaning guy that I remember just going, yeah, okay, it's a lot of efficiency in his game and just kind of smart plays and keeping it simple, and that's fine. I was actually really pleasantly surprised to see him drafted because he's kind of quietly floated around all year. Yeah, Fox and D'Angelo have done very well for the Rangers. That's true. I know you weren't high on Sokolovsky, but some public evaluators had him close to where he went. Do you think there's a decent chance for him to end up a top 4 shutdown defenseman? If you play him long enough, you probably could get there. I just think that he has like so far to go. I don't know. I watched a few games of him over the course of the year. I tracked a few games. I just don't see it. Like, I can't say it's impossible, right? Like, I don't know. I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work to try to understand what it is about a player that makes them appealing to a team. And the best I can do is, like, come to my own conclusions, but I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict, like, this guy will or will not be a player, right? Like, it depends on who's coaching him, where they're playing him in the lineup. Like, I mean, I think he has a long way to go, but, like, he's very big. He wants to play like Nikita Zadorov. And if that's what he wants to be, can you get that out of him? Well, he's wired that way. He's definitely wired in a way where it's like, yeah, he could be a murderer on the ice, right? Like, sure. But, boy, it's a long way away. Like, late first round, if they drafted him 10th overall, it would be like, okay, that's a little crazy. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about decent chance. I think you're looking at, yeah, like Zadorov, but I don't know if he has the shot or offensive-ish tools that Zadorov has. I don't really know. Maybe you get a Gudis out of him. But, like, if that's the case, then, like, go after drafting every 6'6" defenseman that just runs around trying to destroy anything that moves. It's like, if that's how you want to play the game, then so be it. But I watched a lot of Sokolovsky this year, and I go, I know how to beat this guy. If I'm a coach and I'm playing against him, I know how to beat him. You can beat him. He's very big and he can be very intimidating, but like you can beat him. I saw him get beat a lot. So it's like, yeah, he's got to get a lot better, I think. But for what NHL coaches want to do, yeah, like, and in Philadelphia, yeah, like it makes sense for the Flyers. Like, he's big and he's physical and he will punch you in the face. Sometimes that's all you need. Have you seen much of Karmanov? Do you think there could be anything there? Well, I'll tell you this. I thought there was a better actual player in Karmanov than actual player in Sokolovsky. Like, Karmanov as a defenseman, I don't think it's likely to work. But I think for a guy that big at that age, like, the footwork is actually kind of decent. And his reach, he uses it really well. And I didn't really find him like overcommitting defensively too much. It's just so raw. Like, he doesn't skate like Sokolovsky really does in terms of like generating power yet. I don't know if he ever will. Like, he might just be too big. Like, I think there is such a thing as too big to play this sport. But like, for one going in the first round and one being in the 7th round or whatever it was, like, I don't think they're that crazily too far apart. But I could be missing something with Sokolovsky. I just find that Karmanov doesn't do the headhunting thing. Like, he doesn't go, I'm a heat-seeking missile and I'm going to chase after this guy no matter what. Like, he just kind of keeps it a little more simple and projectable. But who knows? Do you think Galvas can be a PP1 QB in the NHL? That's a tall order, right? Like, your best defenseman should be that, right? Like, your best offensive defenseman. And I don't know if Galvas will be that. Like, I mean, he's going to learn from guys like Carlson and Letang, so there's lots to like there. And he does have the tools to like be a guy that could be like that, but I don't like top power play quarterback defensemen in the NHL are like some of the best in the world, right? I don't think he's that. But, I mean, could he be a Gostis Bears style career guy? Maybe. I don't know. But Galvas, he's got a ways to go. But I'm glad that I had him in the 2024 draft on Team Scouching with 200th overall. That feels pretty good now that he ended up in the 2nd round. Michelli and Brink non-tenders is partly why free agency can be a valuable tool. Yeah, no, I would take those two easily. I would at least, yeah, like, I'm surprised. I mean, Minnesota not keeping a small guy, like, shocker, but yeah. Pretty wild to trade David Jiricek for a guy you're not keeping. I guess he took the whole don't get too settled in Minnesota thing from Bill Guerin on day one a little too seriously. Zach Jones comes from my home rink. Why is he not in the NHL lineup? I mean, I think it's because it was always a weird idea for him to go to Buffalo because they already had so many guys like him. I mean, I think when he's played in the NHL, the numbers on him are actually quite good. I would sign him. Like, I'd give him a contract and give him 10 games and see what he does. Like, every time I've seen him play in the NHL, I go, yeah, I'll take this guy. Like, and all it takes is one team to like him. Like, yeah, he was a huge producer in the AHL this year. I'd give him a run. I think it's just that he is not 6'4" and does not shoot the lights out, right? But and he's also not a physical defenseman. Some people just don't like that, but I've always liked him. What do you think about the fit in Buffalo for Rudolph? Well, I mean, like, sure. I mean, I think they have a pretty smart group of players. Like, I'm trying to rationalize Rudolph to Buffalo because, like, I just watched so much of him and I just didn't see it. Unless the puck was in the offensive zone. So, like, maybe a guy like Erasmus Dahlin can go to him and be like, well, here's where I came from. I don't know. I don't know the answer. but clearly they see something there. What kind of ceiling do you see for Axel Olofsson in Colorado? I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. I was a little surprised to see him drafted, but like at that point in the draft, it's not. You can't really be too wound up, right? He's very skilled and certainly very, very, very confident with the puck. Like he is. He's a cowboy out there, man. He just goes, and I just don't think like his skating needs to really improve. I think, and like his defensive game, like the footwork defensively is just not really there. So like for me, it was like, is he going to be does he look like a top 4 NHL defenseman in the future reasonably? And my answer to that was often no. But like I could see him being a very good offensive defenseman in like Hockey Allsvenskan relatively soon. And he certainly has the confidence to try a lot of stuff, and he's worth the bet, but he's going to need to develop a lot, I think. Like, not impossible. He's got some stuff in his game that's interesting, but I didn't have him ranked just because it's like I just didn't. I think the road for me is just like a little too long. And yes, my philosophy is, could he be good? I don't know, maybe, because that's probably the only way you can do this job properly. Because claiming gets you in trouble and you look foolish. So I'd rather just be foolish in general and leave the universe to be the universe to unfold as it should. Why was there no interest in Callum Croskery? I don't think he was that, like, he's a defenseman who can skate okay. Like, he's a plus level skater ish, and there wasn't much else in his game in my opinion. I didn't think he was particularly like revolutionary at the under 18s either. So I think teams, like, again, it's like you've got to have him on your list and be the number one guy for you to want him. And I mean, I'm sure that worse skating defensemen were taken than him, but like I would, like, again, it's like for a guy like him, the floor is quite high, and I didn't really see that in him. Who do you think has more of a chance to pan out, Blyle or Lynn? I'd say it's about equal. Again, they're really close. They're really close on my list. Like, I think they have about an equal chance. I think Blyle is more advanced in terms of fundamentals, but Lynn, I think, is a smarter passer. But Blyle is a much better puck carrier, so they're kind of different. So it's like, depends. But they both went to programs that I think will do well. Like, Blyle in Nashville makes a ton of sense. Lynn in San Jose makes a ton of sense for different reasons. Why do you think the hockey media keeps saying Schmitz is a defensive defenseman? ESPN gave his NHL comparables as true, but seems he's very misunderstood. Well, you can read between the lines, but maybe they just don't know. Like, maybe they're just looking at the fact that he's not a high point producer, even though he kind of is for a Finnish league guy, and he's big, and that he was playing a bit more of a defensive role for like the Latvian national team. I don't know. Norwegian Nicholas Armolson ceiling, it's very high. It's very high, but the floor is very low as well, I think. Where would Lockerberg would have gone if he didn't get injured and kept up the goal per game pace at under 20? Well, he was doing more than just a goal a game, man. I mean, I would have imagined he would have been in the SHL for a stretch. But, I mean, I had him in the first round. I had him at 32. And I would say, like, because Ottawa took him at 25. Yeah. Like, if you wanted him over guys, like, at 22 on my list, like, if all these guys are gone, like, would I take him over Suvanto or Hemming? Like, yeah, maybe. You know, like, yeah, I could have maybe at the end of the year had him in this range, like the top of this was a tier here at 16, 17. Like, you would have slotted in at 17, and then all these guys probably pushed down a slot. because he was very good. And yes, Karmanov should be named Megalodon if he goes. I don't know anything about Vingoradov. I don't know. Yes, Paraguay. That game was epic. That game was epic. I like Beckham Edwards. I just don't think there was any growth in his game this year. Like I thought watching him this year, like he's a smart off puck skater, good, fine, sniffs out fine space in front and gets scoring chances, but like it's kind of similar to who were we talking about earlier in the show, where it's like they just don't have any zip. Like there's no oomph in his game. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no like this is what his NHL thing is going to be. Like you can kind of do what he's doing, you know, in the NHL. Maybe like if you're Pavel Dorofeyev, you know, like maybe that's how it could go. Just you're an off puck scorer who keeps it simple, go to the net, play off of guys that have a lot more possession ability and all that stuff, and just go from there. I don't know if I see that with Edwards though. He's not. I don't know. That it's tricky. He was a tough one for me this year. Thoughts on Quentin Musty? Seems to be on the brink of being the odd man out, but he's really good. He is very talented. Musty is a bit frustrating, I think. Like his defensive game is not like I don't know if he's going to be a guy where the offensive game is going to outweigh the negatives. Cuz that like he can be frustrating defensively for sure, and that can be tough to earn the trust of a coach long term, but I don't know. Rogalski's the forward version of Tyler Myers. Yeah, exactly. Do you see true power play quarterbacks in Lynn, Dickinson, Verhoff? The Sharks still need to find a number one. The search for a number one defenseman will never not make me laugh. Like you have three great options now. Just see what happens, man. Like Gustav Forsling was a number one defenseman, right? Like Brandon Montour was a top pair guy and won a Stanley Cup of Florida. Like just see what happens. I mean, I could see Dickinson being a very good guy on the power play running it. That's probably the guy that I would want as my first instinct. But like Lynn and Dickinson and like all three of them give you good options. Like I guess for me it would be like who works the best? Like who just try them all out and who works the best. Like I don't think you need to be constantly being like, oh, we need to search for it. Like you might get it with what you've got. Who knows? You might even get Zach Werenski. I don't know. Hard to say from my perspective. Preston off-ice problems, maybe. I mean, I know there was some of that. That was definitely a factor. I know for a fact that there was some of that. But I know that not every team disagreed with me. I think a lot of teams saw the value, and I know a couple were kind of being like, how far is he gonna fall? Well, maybe we could push it a little more, you know? Like maybe we could just maybe teams will skip over him one more time, you know? And eventually Anaheim just went, yeah, I think we need to computer pick the best hockey player available. Computer, we need more offense. It could work. It could be a lot of fun. I hope it is, for my own sake. I mean, Pat Verbeek, if there is off-ice stuff, Pat Verbeek will be on him. I don't think Pat Verbeek tolerates nonsense very much. What team and what pick is perfect for each other? Winnipeg and Bjork, yeah, that's a good one. I'd say in a weird way, Hermansen to LA, especially at 19. You mentioned Suvanto, yeah. I think Lawrence to St. Louis makes a ton of sense. That one, I thought he might be going to Nashville, maybe Winnipeg, I thought. But St. Louis, I had a feeling he wasn't getting further than that. Or at least not too much further. Why is Pravalov on the list twice? Because I am an idiot. That's why. Oh yeah, I mean, with Tulski in the bottom 6 guys, yeah, you're right. But that's you if you do bargain bin hunting, you can find some good stuff. Is Sivertson to Vegas a steal? I don't think you can say that today at all. Thoughts on the Preds draft? Well, on one hand, maybe there's a bit of a new philosophy going on, but also on the other hand, they did draft Wyatt Cullen at 10. They took Riker Lee last year. They took Tommy Blyle this year. They took Cam Reed last year. Jacob Floris is just all upside skill bet. Like, he plays like he's kind of like the Slovak Alex Bleki, but he doesn't skate like Bleki quite does. I think he wants to. He's kind of like when I watch Floris this year, it's like he's kind of like that puppy dog that isn't quite big or strong enough to do what the parent dogs do. And it's like, it's not like you're like, don't do that, but you're just kind of like, aw, that's really fun. And I love that your brain is wired to jump in the water like that and try to chase after your dog parent. But we also had to rescue you a little bit. You know, it's like, so in a way with Floris, with Nashville, it's kind of like similar to how I kind of saw them taking an Alex Huang last year. Graf I haven't seen enough of to know. Hemir is a guy. Cosette Ayat, I mean, these guys are light round swings, right? Like, I don't know if they'll be guys. I don't think they're NHL guys, but I don't know. I don't think it's a different opinion, a different approach, but well, I mean, it is a new management team again, so. Think Josh Waugh can find his game like Yamamoto did? I don't think they're comparable. I mean, I've never been a huge Josh Waugh guy. I remember the Habs fans yelling and screaming at me when he played in the NHL and like scored a goal. Like, I just think Waugh is a guy where it's like his A game is like only really usable in a very, very big role in the NHL, and I don't know if he's like enough of a difference maker to make it worth it. Like the AHL, I guess I could see him being a good scorer down there. But with Yamamoto, like, you see speed and skill and competitiveness and energy and tenacity that like he's just all over the place. So I don't know. I have more faith in Yamamoto, honestly. Are you saying you're just as likely to win the lottery as Rubrek developing into Jamie Benn? Well, look, like, if Ryan Rubrek can turn into Jamie Benn, I would love to see it happen. But, like, you're asking for him to become, like, one of the best power forwards in the game? Like, okay. If that's the case, then, like, Brooks Rogowski could be Eric Lindros. Like, why can't why can't Casey Mutrin be John LeClaire? I don't, like, sure, maybe, but like, I don't see evidence for that. Like, you can say it as much as you want. I'm just saying, like, I mean, you're also a Blackhawks fan. Like, obviously, you're gonna want Rubrek to be Jamie Benn. Like, maybe it's possible. I've never watched a Ryan Rubrek game and go, wow, that guy looks like Jamie Benn or Jason Robertson. Like, maybe, but like, I didn't see much with Rubrek this year. He was really frustrating to watch. And I know I'm not the only one who felt that way. Do you not feel like size makes the game easier for a guy even if he's not using it yet? I mean, it might. Like, hockey is a game played very quickly, right? Like, you close, if you are 5 inches taller than a person, like, how much longer is your reach, really, in a percentage? right? It's not that big. You know, like just because a person is 5 inches taller than you doesn't mean both their arms are 5 inches longer than yours. Like there is an advantage, but when you're skating so fast and you're playing so quickly, that difference in reach and difference in speed can be closed, or that difference in distance can be closed very quickly. So like if you're just big, sure, like there are parts of the game that are going to come easier, I guess. But I've seen my fair share of big guys just turn pucks over constantly because they just don't have the skill or vision to look off options or work around forecheckers or, you know, work off a physical prep. Like it's a huge reason I was really down on a guy like Levshinov. He invited a lot on himself and just did not have the ability to really deal with it all that well and turn it over a ton in situations where you go, I don't even know how that's possible. Dickinson was the same way. So it's like guys can be big, but I find over time, like the way a player is wired when you just sit back and watch them play, it doesn't really change all that much. They might get quicker, they might get more skilled, they might get a better shot, but changing how they're wired, like on a shift in, shift out, like they've been playing this game for 10, 15 years of their life, almost their whole lives. And like, so they're going to be wired a certain way that works for them, and it's going to be hard to change it. It's not impossible, but like, again, like you look at the guys that have been, again, statistically speaking, you look at the picks in the NHL draft that often go wasted or unutilized. It's just the big, unproductive guys who just, you may as well. And then the guys that work, a lot of it is the competitors, the skilled guys, the good producers who are, you know, just humming along. So, it's, you know, like, to me, I never really think about how big a player is. I am always thinking about how it all works together, right? Like, you know, like to me, it's like saying like, what kind of car is best? It's like, well, if you like pickup trucks, then fine. Like, I wouldn't own a pickup truck, but I see the appeal, you know? But if you like sports cars, then you like sports cars. Like there are certain things that, like if you do a head-to-head of sports car versus tow truck in a variety of different events, I'm sure there are events where the sports car will be better, and there are events where the tow truck, where the truck will be better. But which one is better overall is very hard to judge. So it's always about like, well, how do all of these things intertwine? Like if you have a pickup truck and it drives like a long length school bus, but you have another pickup truck that drives like a Mazda 3, then one has a better utilization of its components. But just because it's a truck doesn't make it good. So it's like, it's a nice bonus. It's a part of it, you know, but it's not everything at all. And I find the big thing is, though, like, ironically, the big thing is you my mind just blanked. Anyway, I think you get the point. Don't want to hammer this on forever. Is TVR the most underrated player of all time? No, I am the most underrated player of all time. You should have seen me when I was 10. Thoughts on Lars Steiner? Rambunctious little guy. Oh, that's what I was going to say, is that in the draft, at least in the context of the draft, the ones that fall, it's not necessarily that like I look for the small guys. It's just the ones that fall that are best utilizing their abilities are just guys that are smaller. Like Lars Steiner has a great shot, really good skill level, unbelievably physical. He's insane on the ice. Like, and yet people look at him and they go, well, he's small. It's like, well, okay, but he's often quite, you would make a mistake if you underestimated him. It would be a mistake. He's going to get you. Have you seen some of the names not qualified? Berggren and Bobby Brink? Yeah, I mean, I'd see what they could do. Sure. League min, bring them to camp. Why not? Come on, the perfect future 3C behind Hughes and Heishier. That's the only way I can sort of justify the pick. I mean, I guess it's possible. Sure. Maybe he's more of a winger in my books long term, but sure. I don't know. How do you beat him then? Oh, like Sokolovsky? I mean, with Sokolovsky, you chip and chase around him. Like, the number of times that Sokolovsky came to a full stop on a defensive rush, then pivoted forwards and jumped into a person and missed, it was more than most other guys. When he hits, it's like, again, like if you make a compilation of the biggest hits he's had this year, then yeah, you're going to go, holy smokes, this guy's incredible. He can obliterate you. But at the same time, like, I've seen just as many times where he tries to step into someone and they just go whoop, or they just go whoop and flip it around him, and then someone else just goes in, right? Like, it's why I didn't like Gabe Eliason all that much. Like, I remember seeing Gabe Eliason throw a guy into the bench and shove him a bunch of times, and a 2-on-1 came the other way, he got scored on. You know, it's like, I see what you're trying to do, but if that's your, like, if that's what you're focused on, then I think, again, you're not seeing, you're not seeing the forest there. Like, with him, it's like, as soon as you see his feet stop moving, you chip the puck around him. Because I also don't think he has the puck control skill and the stick skill to, like, knock it down and turn it around and dance around you and do all that stuff. I just don't see that in him. Brady Martin said it about him. He can't play the game of hockey. I mean, like, it was very clear to me that Dale Hunter must have just gone to Sokolovsky and go, your job is to hunt Brady Martin every game. Anytime he's going to be on the ice, you're going to be on the ice, and you're going to hunt him down. You're shutting him down. And I think they got swept, didn't they? It was like 4-1 or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't have done it. I get it. He's humongous and he hits big. I don't, sure. And people, I think, who might be smarter than me, said he was really good down the stretch. So maybe I'm missing something. What do you think will happen next season between BU with Lawrence and Malhotra? They're going to get into a hissy fit fight, and it's going to be dramatic and embarrassing, and then they're both going to end up kicked off the team. I don't know. I mean, I would think that Lawrence will play a very important job, and Malhotra will be right behind him. He's been there already. But, I mean, like, whether one is one and one is the second center, then I don't think it matters. But they're both going to play quite a bit. I think Klepov will be a steal. I mean, it could be. I think 15 is really aggressive, but on Anaheim, like, if you insulate him properly, then yeah, you could be a good pickup. Sure. What's the grade for the Panthers since he didn't have a first round pick? Yeah, I mean, I think Florida did pretty well. I have to check out. Well, actually, I've seen most of these guys, honestly. But, yeah, Ignatavicius and Kali, I mean, you got those guys later than I had them. I think I'm surprised Kali lasted until 48, but, like, definitely makes sense as a Panther. Same thing with Ignatavicius. Kemp's, I don't really see it with him. I know he's humongous, so maybe there's something there, but I never saw it with him. Von Hatalo, I'm surprised lasted that late. I mean, if you want a big hitty boy, you could have done a lot worse. Teams picked a lot of different ones before him, and I would have picked him ahead of them. But he's good. I don't know if he's, like, surely an NHLer, but sure. And then Zarovsky, I didn't get a good read on him. I never really got a good grasp on him. Pretty speedy in a straight line from what I remember. Pretty aggressive, but, like, not the best puck manager, not the best sort of defensive guy either on the wing. But around that range, like, from what I remember of him this year, yeah, I guess it makes sense. It doesn't surprise me he was there. Darren York says that it's like drafting Sorensen out of Minnesota high school. I mean, fair enough. Maybe. Thoughts on Bleki? We've done Bleki already a bunch of times tonight, but I mean, a bigger opportunity, he'll score more. He'll get a lot more defensive reps. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a solid player. He went right around where he probably should have gone, and he's got some intriguing upside tools. I just think he's a development case. He's got a long way to go. A lot of guys have a long way to go. That's the post-draft quote is, these guys are not done developing, and there's a lot of things that could still happen. So freaking out or being indignant are not advisable strategies today. What do you think of Thomas Galvis? I love him. Love him to death. I think he's very dynamic and skilled and with great footwork, and I love him. I mean, Team Scouching drafted him 2 years ago. So, yeah, we like him. Some other scouts have Verhoff ceiling higher than Reed. How would you compare the two? I mean, again, I don't really like talking about players relatively like this. Like, it's like, I think there's a lot of fluff that goes on with people talking about these players. We heard it for the whole day on Saturday, just fluff. Just saying the same things about players and the same recycled things and ceilings and floors and blah, blah, blah. But like very little about the actual players playing style on the ice, like directly. And I think with like Verhoff, I think is showcasing some really impressive playmaking ability that you don't see as much of with Reed. Like more advanced, like look-offs and option juggling, whereas Reed is a little more active in the offensive zone. Like he's more of a skating first guy. I mean, I thought Verhoff had a very good defensive sort of positioning game, and his stick checking results were extremely good. He was much more involved defensively than Reed was. But like Reed is a better puck transporter. I think Reed is a much better skater. Like power play quarterback, I probably would want Reed, or I would try Reed first and then Verhoff if it doesn't work out. Like once the puck's in the offensive zone, Verhoff probably has some more advanced abilities, but it doesn't mean he's better. You know, like it depends on who they're playing with, what coach they're playing for, like all kinds of stuff. I think there's just too much uncertainty, but that range of defensemen were really, really close, and it's just one I think leans a little more in the sort of speedy rush offense type, and the other is more like stick first defending, skill at low energies, and playmaking type. They're different. What's the deal with Voronkov? It seems like a second liner for Columbus, and he's reduced to a fourth liner. I wouldn't be going after Voronkov. I felt Voronkov was a Marchenko merchant a lot when I watched Columbus. He played that like finisher's job that was fine, but it's not very repeatable. Like he wouldn't be a huge like focus of mine. Elaborate on Musty attitude problem. Well, not really. It's just that like he's a bit of an unreliable contributor, and if I'm a coach, I can live with that as long as we are successful. And it's like, is Quentin Musty a player on his own that for all the warts, you know you're going to get success out of him? And I think it's too unclear right now. Like, I think with San Jose, watching the Barracuda a bit over the last 2 years, like the skill and the speed and the skating, it's all there. It's just, it's like, is he an NHL team guy? And I just like, can he be dependable on both sides of the puck? You know what I mean? Like, it's really tricky. I don't know the answer to that. But like in terms of raw ability, like I love the kid. He's really good. But it's not so much attitude as it is like his natural playing style will require accepting some things. And I'm not sure that his playing style is so successful that it is for sure transcending those negatives, if that makes sense. How do you think the Isles drafted this year? Very well. Gustafsson at 13 is a great pick. I don't care which way he shoots. I don't care about any of that. You draft a guy like that at 13. He is a very good defensive player. They drafted another, I think, one of the more underrated defensive players this year in Lincoln Keene. I had him at 70. And I really liked him. Physical, rangy, definitely pretty raw in terms of like puck management. His skill level needs work, I think. He's not the most exciting guy, but he's a guy where I kind of always would finish a game and I go, huh, all right, sure, okay, that was fine, yeah, good play, cool. Dravechki is an all-out offensive bet. I got lower and lower on him as the year went on, but at 141, when you've got two really solid defensive players off the board already and you want to have a little more fun, yeah, go nuts. Matiuk I was watching earlier today. I don't know if I see too much there, but he's got some good edges on his feet and some pretty impressive skill. Like, he does the mohawk skating thing a lot, which is kind of fun. And yeah, he's just a fun player to watch. I don't know if he's an NHLer, but he's fun. And then Bobby Cowan. I've always liked Bobby Cowan, actually. I was watching him this spring a little bit as a reentry guy that just didn't quite make my list, but I like him. He's an interesting player. I don't know if he's an NHLer, but works hard, and he might be that guy that the Islanders always seem to have, where you're like, I did not know that was a person. Is it Alex McLean? Kyle McLean. Who is there? There was one this year where I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what the? Anyway, they always have that. Washington has to get faster. Suvanto is a good pick, but Washington's way too slow. I mean, on one hand, I agree with you, but on the other hand, like, that's kind of just how they play. Like, they're very methodical and surgical, and they can make it work slowing the game down, I think. Like, they just have a lot of guys that seem to be able to do that, and they've drafted a lot of them too. So it's an interesting strategy. Yeah, Mark Gatcomb, that's the one. Yeah. Do teams pick from the same school hoping they build chemistry, or is it just coincidence? I mean, they have the closest connections if there's a player already at that school. Like, they do their homework, and it's often easiest to do your homework by calling the people you know or what you're already familiar with, right? Like, if you know you have a college coach who you've really trusted over the last 10 years, and then they're like, I have this new guy, you should check him out, he's really good and coming next year, then yeah, that's going to matter. And like, for a lot of teams, it's like, well, the team that they're playing for is in our backyard. And again, like, a lot of teams really care about being in the rink and seeing the guys play firsthand. And so it's a lot easier to do that when you're, say, Boston, and you have Boston College in your yard. Like, I wouldn't do it that way, but like, teams, that's how a lot of them think. And I get that to a point, but yeah, I think it's a mix of both. Thoughts on the confidence and composure McKenna has shown in the media availability? I mean, I can't fault him whatsoever. Like, he very obviously is well prepared for this as of now. Everything that's been said is the right thing that's been said. Everything that, he's off on the right foot, if you ask me. But like, this is the honeymoon phase, man. Like, the expectations in Toronto are going to get very high very quick, I think. I think they've made some good moves. It's not all going to be on him either, right? Like, it's not going to be on him, I don't think. And nor should it be. But you can't, like, I don't know. I was talking to someone the other day who is not, they're a hockey fan, I should say. They're a person in my life who is a hockey fan. And they live in the area. I live in the GTA, and they live in the area. And they were like, I don't know. I've kind of wondered if they were going to take a big defenseman there because Gavin McKenna is small, and I had to hold my tongue a little bit. But like, there are people out there who will start to think things about him, whether they should or not. And like, that's going to be the ultimate test, unless things go really well right away. And I'm not going to hope that they don't. I don't want to do that at all. But yeah, I mean, it's been cool. Like, I loved the traditional outfits that his family were wearing and that he had on. I'm loving the First Nations representation. It's really cool. I think that's really awesome, and we need more of that. Something to be proud of. And I think it's great. I mean, I don't know. I have no problems really. And like, yeah, like, again, like, this is the problem, is that I can only go off of my own experience of what I see with my eyeballs and watching games, and McKenna was at 5 at the beginning of the year for reasons that I think are legitimate. And then now at the end of the year, like, there's a lot of growth, I think, that went on there. with Brooks specifically, do you think he's learning anything how to use his body? Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're 6'7" and 17 years old, like he's pretty young. Of course, he's probably still figuring it out, right? Like again, he's a development case, long term. Surprised Boyker didn't get drafted. No, not really. Bruins desperate for a right-hand defenseman, not just drafting Blyle or Lynn. Killed me. Not a fan of getting Peterka just because Sturm said so. I mean, Peterka's a pretty good player. And like again, if you're desperate for a right-hand shot defenseman, you don't draft one at 20 whatever it is. 20 where was it? I don't know. You don't draft it and then wait a few years. Like if that's what you need, you got to look elsewhere. But Peterka's pretty good. How likely is it that one of Klepov, Nordmark, or Preston becomes a top 6 or top line player at the NHL level? Well, I love Mathis Preston, so I'm going to be biased and say 100 because Preston is extremely good. Like, I think if he keeps his head on straight and listens to people and like, develops a little bit, he could be a star. Nordmark, I think, is a tougher sell. Klepov, I could see being a contributor. But in terms of overall impact on the game, I've always been drawn to Preston. Thoughts on Brek Liskey? Great pickup for Philadelphia. Like, honestly, like, this is the thing, too, about the draft, is, like, if you criticize a certain pick, there's an argument to do so. For example, with Sokolovsky at 27, I think. But if you took Liskey at 27, some people would be like, who is this guy? But I would think that's a good pick. And 53 being Sokolovsky, I'd go, well, yeah, no, I don't get it, but sure, I whatever, late second round pick. If you like him, you like him. Go nuts. So at the end of the day, it might just come out as a wash, you know, because I thought Liskey would be gone in the top 40, right? Like if you saw, like some of the guys that went in the second round early, I just kind of went, you know, like Chase Harrington, I would have probably really pushed if you really wanted that type of player. Like, yeah, I would have thought like, I mean, not that type of player. Liskey's a defenseman, but Liskey is a very good defensive player. Like, yeah, like Sherbakov and Jaden Kurtz. Like, I mean, maybe Jaden Kurtz is the next Jackson Lacombe, but I don't know. Okay, let's get through this and finish because I got a reboot for Wednesday. We're doing a July 1st party for the free agents frenzies. How much of a factor do you think Sonny Meta was in the Devils draft picks versus the scouting staff? I would imagine that knowing Sonny Meta, he wasn't involved really at all. I don't think he's ever done much of the scouting work. Like most of the time GMs come in and they go, all right, you're the scouts, you do the job. He hasn't got the experience of working with them all year. So I imagine he's trusting them. If I were him, at least I would. In a fantasy keeper league where offensive defensemen have the most potential, who would you draft at 5th overall? Schmitz and Prey. Maybe Verhoff. Why can't Fozil get 3 games in the NHL? I don't even think is he been that good? I don't think so. I mean, I had Fozil way too high for sure. Because that was like, he had some decent size and really good straight line skating ability. But they're just, like, he kind of, there just wasn't like, what was he going to be? Like, is he an offensive guy? He didn't seem to want to play that way. Is he a defensive guy? Well, he was kind of good at it, but like, not in an NHL kind of way. Like, I mean, I might give him a shot if he's like a 7th round pick to get him, or a future considerations, or there's a guy that doesn't want to be on my team and I could swap him 1 for 1 and maybe try Svozil. Like, I'd do some pre-scouting on it, obviously. I haven't seen him play in a while, but like, I don't know. I feel like he's a weird, enigmatic type of defenseman that most teams just don't know what to do with in a way. Been struggling with the Flames draft this year. It's fine. I mean, I think the Flames did well, right? Like, Hextall is an interesting upside bet, I think. I think Carroll's is a good defensive player run now as of today. And you never know. You could take some big steps. I wouldn't have taken Harrington. Trable is an interesting goalie. Shikli Slamov and Naginla, I think, are interesting upside bets. I mean, like, I don't know what you expect, right? Like, Barabanov is good. I don't know if he's an NHLer, but he's very smart and a very good playmaker. Katalichki is a nice, raw, big physical guy with some good hands. Like, he's not nobody, and I think you're betting on what he is in 7 years. Cody Leyland is very skilled. I feel like he has a lot of holes in his game, but like, you drafted Henry Muse, man, and I didn't have Muse that high, and his offensive game has really blossomed a lot. And Leyland is kind of like a discount Henry Muse a little bit. So sure. I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, again, you had the 6th pick and then 30. I mean, you traded a lot to get Simone Nemec. I mean, Calgary is taking some gambles, I think. I mean, Carroll's to them is probably not a gamble, and I think he'll fit in great there. But Calgary is now starting to move things along, and they are going, we've drafted a bunch, we can afford to move some stuff to get some stuff, and it's just that stuff has to work. Yeah, I don't think it's worth like freaking out about. What's the best case scenario for Jackson Cover? I mean, I've always seen him as maybe third line two-way guy. Like, he's got some good physical traits. He's got a bit more skill than you might think. He's not small. He's good under pressure. Like, with his game, it was a lot of like similar to, I don't know, let me see. Yeah, like similar to maybe Jack Hextall in a way. It's like there's nothing inherently wrong with how you play the game, and in some ways I actually really, really like how you play. But with Hextall, or Cover, I should say, it's like, well, both of them, it's like that, like, what's the difference-making moments, right? Like, what are the moments that you see that are really, like, on and off the puck, like, on a consistent basis, really making an impact at the level they're playing at, where you go, okay, this is what will take them a long way. With Cover, I think he's just rock solid, you know, like physical enough to make it work, skilled enough to do stuff, pretty good inside driven offense. Like, I had him in the 2nd round. I had guys I would have rather had at 32 over him, but it's a good story. He's a good development case. He's an unknown. But you know what? I respect the Senators for taking a chance on a lot of their picks. They took some big swings, and that's a big change for them. I don't know if they'll work out. I have more confidence in Lockerberg Hohen than most people. But they had some fun, man. It was fun. Sorry if this has been asked. Does Stenberg create offense from thin air, or does he rely on others? Oh, I think he creates a lot. Yeah, no, he is very smart. He can that's what he does best, is just make offense in not flashy but very effective ways. Sorry if this has been asked, but thoughts on Vancouver's draft. As a fan, the size thing kind of worries you? What size thing? Like, I don't think you, like, Malhotra's not that big. He certainly doesn't play that big. Novotny is not small either, but he's not big. Like, you've got Rogowski. Like, I don't know if you want to complain about picks made after the 3rd round. Like, you know, I don't really know what the concern is. I like Connor Davis. I liked what I saw of him this morning when I watched him. Brizgalov is physical. Like, this is the thing. Again, like, it doesn't need to be said again, but it kind of does. Like, an NHL team thinks about the game as a series of roles. And they look at a guy, and like Brizgalov, like, if you have Yaroslav Brizgalov on one hand and Kasper Justavar Karlsson on the other, one is 6'3" and bashes everybody. One is 5'8" and bashes everybody. The intricacies don't matter at that point, right? Like, whether or not this guy has more skill, more energy, more pace, better shooting ability, you know, more offensively competitive, whatever, This guy is bigger and throws hits. Therefore, if a coach needs him in a pinch down the road as a fourth liner, we'll have him as an option. In a lot of NHL teams' minds, I think it is much better as a 6th round bet to take the big physical guy who can plug a hole on your 4th line, because otherwise you end up in a situation, or you could end up in a situation where it's like, we need to plug a hole on the 4th line, and our options are guys like Andrew Crystal. Like, an NHL team is going to go, uh-oh, in that scenario. But even if it is a, I guess you could say, worse player, they're going to look at a Brizgalov in the future and go, we can transplant that guy into the 4th line, because we at least know he's going to be big every time he steps on the ice. He's going to skate hard and he's going to hit hard. And if he doesn't have the puck, there you go. You know? So, like, that's not my philosophy personally, but that's how a lot of teams think, because that's the safer bet, right? Like, I don't really see it that way, but teams will default to that. That's very obvious, and many teams are doing it. Like, it's just the way it is. And at that point, I don't know who else you were going to take that you're like, I need to have this player. Like, there weren't that many realistically this year. I liked a lot of guys this year, but they're not for everybody. I have my way of doing things, and it makes people think I'm insane, but I have my way of doing things. And if you like it, you like it. Eriksson, I mean, they drafted Eriksson. Like, I don't think he's going to be much, but, like, again, he's big and he's young, and who knows? But I don't think it's like a panic thing. Like, for the guys that they did draft, I mean, could they have done things a little differently if it were me? Yeah, I probably would have done things differently. But this is what it is, and I think they could very well. There are universes where at least the first 4 guys they drafted are good options somewhere. Oh, the Dutch took the lead. Nice. All right. Well, I think on that note, we're going to call it a night. It's been, oh my God, it's been 2 hours and 45 minutes. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Again, whether you watched one of these shows or all of the reports and all of these, like, I really, 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 really appreciate it. It means a lot. And it's been a fun year. We have one more live show. We're doing Wednesday. And we're going to be doing a free agency special thing. It's going to be a little bit of fun. We're going to play some games and have some fun. We're going to be recording the recaps pretty soon. Again, if you are a subscriber to scouching.ca, you'll get those as soon as they are done. We're going to bank up a whole bunch before releasing them publicly, so just because of AJ's work schedule. So anyway, we're going to call it a night. And yeah, if you haven't already, again, if you were a participant in the first round prediction contest, check your emails because you might have won. And yeah, if you also have any questions, I mean, DM me on whatever social media you want. And we'll see you Wednesday. Exciting times. Thanks for joining me. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you then. And I hope all your NHL teams and your own dreams with all the players that they drafted come true, and that everybody becomes the next hyper all-star that everybody seems to think all these kids are going to be, because that would be nice. But fun year. Thanks again. And we'll see you in a couple of days. All right. Bye-bye.